up, everybody? Welcome to another All Badass episode of Jamming Out All Badass. Got a jam-packed show today, actually. Got the debut of Frasier Ian Dawson's segment. The English have done it again, talking one of his favorite new wave of British heavy metal albums today with us. I'll give him a few minutes to talk about that. So I won't waste too much time on the intro, but just a reminder to kind of let everybody know about the show. Like it if you like it, comment, share it around, subscribe to the channel, and help support the show that way. I really appreciate it. So, like I said, I got a few guests today. First one is let me go ahead and bring him on. Let me put this up. Let me see here. Give me a second. Christian, how's it going, brother?
What's up, man?
There was a big announcement yesterday about a show in Houston. Obviously, we haven't been having shows anywhere lately, but there's a fest in Houston that's been going on for, I guess, a few years now called Hell's Heroes Fest. It focuses on like heavy metal and speed metal, thrash, stuff like that. Christian is the organizer, or one of the organizers, if not the organizer of that fest. And we're going to talk about it a little bit here briefly. Let me bring up the flyer for the show. So I guess we could start, just kind of let us know about the show, kind of the history of the show and why you decided to put this type of fest on here in Houston.
Well, team, especially when I started this 4 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
There was a couple of heavy metal fests up north and one in California, but there was nothing down here.
Yeah.
So since that's what I do for my job, is I put on shows, I figured it couldn't go wrong. It took a while to get actually everything together. So I tried years previously, except to get bands and became, okay, do this. We're going to make this happen. And then it kept falling through. And the first year it all came together and I was like, all right. And people showed up. I didn't really expect, especially being in Houston, how it was going to do.
Yeah, it's done pretty well though, right?
Yeah, it did super well.
Who are some of the bands that you've had like in the past? To give people an idea.
The first year, what was that flyer? It was like Thungle, Midnight, Toxic Holocaust, Hellstar, Summerlands, Eternal Champion, in that kind of realm. And then second year had Razor, Exciter, Power Trip, Omen, Skullfist.
Yeah, that kind of gives everybody any idea of the type of show. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the flyer for this year, which you just released yesterday, and hopefully everybody can see it. But we got Candlemass, Dark Angel, Riot, so many bands, Satan. So this is April, right? Let me get a zoom. April 22nd and 23rd. Oh shit! Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. So I guess I have it on the bottom, but you want to talk a little bit about how what's going on with ticket wise and how people can get tickets and anything involved with the show that people may want to know about.
You can get tickets at the White Oak Music Hall site. The lineup really, having 2 years off. I had a lot of time to kind of mess with it.
Yeah.
But everything kind of came together exactly how I wanted it. Down to Diego did the flyer, and it's my favorite one he's done ever.
Yeah, it's a cool flyer. Yeah, Diego's a local artist, musician out of Houston. Yeah, that's you can kind of tell that's his artwork if you know his artwork, So he did a cool job. So the tickets I have that you can get them at whiteoakmusichall.com, right? Is that right?
Also, this year sold better than the last 2 years combined on sale.
Oh, shit.
It's not going to sell out the next day or two, but if you're going to go, I would get tickets sooner than later.
Yeah, you can if you're on Instagram, you can check them out at Hell's Heroes, and I think there's links to like direct links to the ticket site, but just kind of doing some research today. If you go to the White Oak Music Hall.com website, it's pretty easy to navigate. And you can get a around that site fairly easily. So now Dark Angel, I mean Dark Angel hasn't been in Houston in like probably since like '89 or something like that. So
like at least
that's definitely a pretty good get. I mean, I guess it's. Do you know who's playing which days and all that yet?
I haven't completely sorted it.
Oh, okay.
Headlining one day, this Saturday, and Dark Angels headlining the Friday, and then the rest they'll be.
Okay. You said Candlemass. You're kind of breaking up.
Yeah, Candlemass is doing. Will be on Saturday, and Dark Angels on Friday.
Nice. So, but yeah, everybody, you can get. Can you get like single day tickets and all that, or is it the whole fest, or how does that work?
Right now, you can only get weekend passes.
Okay.
All the weekend passes sell. There's not going to be any single day tickets, which it looks like it's going to happen. But for some reason, maybe later this fall there would be single day tickets. But if everything, not going to have any. So if you're debating on going to one of the days, I would just grab the weekend pass. Yeah, especially if you're. I mean, I know people come in from out of town and all that and fly in for it. Be a good idea to go ahead and get it now because I know. In years past, the fest has done real well. So you don't wait around too long because now the venue, it's at the White Oak Music Hall, right? That's is it going to be like upstairs, downstairs kind of thing, or how's that going to work? It'll be upstairs and downstairs, and then also outside on the kind of lawn area. I'm going to put all the like the band's merch out there and have some other vendors and things like that, some food trucks. Nice, man. Yeah, that's cool, man. But yeah, I mean, those of you that are watching or whatever, I know a lot of you, know about the show already, but help spread the word, share the flyer out there for them and whatnot, and just support the that fest because I mean, a lot of those bands you're not gonna get them on tour or anything like that. They're just kind of like Dark Angel. They're not gonna tour anymore, so. It's one of those rare opportunities you get to check them out. A lot of the other bands, Satan and stuff like that. So, help support the show, help support that fest, and get it sold out, man. Because I know a lot of work. Hell, if I book a show with 3 bands, it's a lot of work. I can only imagine. 30 bands. So. A lot of people don't realize what goes on with booking a show. So help them out however you can. So once again, on Instagram, check them out at Hell's Heroes, and tickets go to whiteoakmusichall.com and you can get tickets there. So well, cool, man. Anything else you want to add about the show? Maybe we missed. I don't think so. I think I got everything covered. Awesome, man. Well, anyway, appreciate. Thanks for coming on, and hopefully this will, just help out a little bit. Of course, Make sure Frasier to give like a lowdown on the lineup would be good too. Do what now? Get Frasier to give his opinion on the thing when he's. He's chomping at the bit. He's in the background right now. I know he's. I'll ask him about it for sure. So, actually, you know what, Frasier, what do you think about this fest coming up, dude? Huh? We can see you. Can you hear me? Oh my God!
Hell yeah!
There he is.
Fuck yeah! Christian doing a fucking badass shit, man. Thanks, man. Especially bringing Satan down.
There you go. You heard it from the king himself. I mean, Frasier's totally behind this this fest. So
Dude.
What's that, Frasier?
Yeah, like my crown was said.
Oh yeah, no, we'll wait for your segment in a minute. So anyhow, there you go. You got you got Frasier's
Dark Angel. I've seen him back in the day.
Yeah, I know. All right, Frasier, calm down. Calm down. I'll bring you back in a minute. So there you go. You got Frasier's approval. So what more do you want? So anyhow, all right, brother. I appreciate you joining us. I'm gonna get moving with Frasier over here. I know he's dying to talk about whatever album he's talking about. You can all right, man. I appreciate it. All right. So again, Hell's Heroes. Check it out, guys. Should be pretty cool. Support. So again, we have a segment. You kind of saw them there shortly. But here we go. I know everybody's been dying and just anticipating the new segment on Jamming Out All Badass called The English Have Done It Again. Frasier I asked him to pick out one new wave of British heavy metal album. He has done that. So without further ado, please welcome to the show again, King of Heavy Metal himself, Frasier. What's up, Frasier? Frasier, quit watching. Quit watching. Turn that off. Turn that off. You can't be on here and watch at the same time. It's going to cause delay. Yeah, you're confused.
Make sure.
Yeah. Turn that off. Turn it off.
On. Oh, shit. I'm trying to watch on YouTube too.
Yeah. Don't do that. It doesn't work. This is working out exactly as I hoped it would.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, so you got an album. You got an album picked out. Let's move this thing along.
Yes, I do.
All right. So what are you wearing? What are you wearing? First of all, what is that on your head?
It's Venom.
No, not your shirt. On your head.
A freaking clown. I told them
you're fucking insane.
But hey,
that's a pretty princess tiara. That's what Garrick said. All right. Anyway, so let's get this moving. I'll give you what's on. yeah, Tom. Perfect timing. So what's the album? What's the album of the day? Talk to me about it. Tell me a little bit about it.
That's Angel Witch from England.
Yeah, they're from England.
No.
What's that? What album is that?
Final Assault.
Final Assault.
Yes.
And that's their what album is that? First, second, third? Third album. Don't put that CD in front of your face. We can't hear you.
Okay. Third album.
Let's look at the back. You didn't even show the back.
Hold on. Hey.
Well, push it down, dude. I can't see it. There you go. All right. So just talk a little bit briefly. Tell me about that album. What do you like about that album, and why should I listen to it?
Never worked with CD, and I had to get it because I found it on eBay. One of my brothers to find it. And I got him to order it. I paid pretty penny for it. Cost $30.
Really?
For a freaking.
Well, so this album's not this is only available on album, and you found it on CD on a bootleg. So your first album of the day is a bootleg?
Yeah.
Come on, man. You can do better.
I'm trying to get a new way to do heavy metal stuff, man.
Yeah, your audio sucks for some reason. Is it just me, or does this Frasier's audio suck? Get up closer. Yeah, not that close. No, easy. All right, so Angel Witch. What's the name of the album again? Final Assault. All right. Anybody got any opinions on that album? Have you heard it? What do you think? Does Frasier have good taste? Does he have terrible taste? Let me know. Let me know. They've been around since 76. All right. Look, Frasier did his homework for y'all. So, all right, Frasier. Hey, I'm going to put you backstage. I'll bring you on later on, all right? I got to bring Chris on.
Oh, okay.
All right, dude. Appreciate it.
Fuck you.
All right. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. I know his audio was kind of bad, but next time I'll tell him to put on some earphones. But yeah, Angel Witch. What are y'all's thoughts on Angel Witch? So anyhow, all right. Well, let's get this thing rolling, man. My guest today, he's been involved in the underground scene since way back in the 1880s. Or 1980s. He's with bands like Goreaphobia. Anybody ever heard Goreaphobia? Of course you have. Bloodstorm. He toured with Apsu. And also he had a project called Den of Sin. I don't know how many you've heard, but I was checking it out yesterday quite a bit. There's like 4 or 5 songs on YouTube that are really, really good, like rock and roll stuff. So anyway, so let's please welcome to Jamming Out All Badass, Mr. Chris Gamble Mazadaris. How you doing, sir?
What's up? How you doing, Francisco? It's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Any opinions on that Angel Witch CD? Are you familiar with it?
I know who Angel Witch are, of course, because when I've talked across his influences, you hear them ring a lot. Back in the day, I never even saw that album in a store. You only read about that stuff in magazines, back then. I mean, you can only get what the record store had back in those days. There was, of course, as we know, there was no internet or anything like that happening. Whatever the record store had, that's what you got, man. I read most stuff, so.
Yeah. Frasier loves him some Angel Witch. I thought for sure he was gonna bust out like the debut album, but no, he went obscure and came with the third album by him. So,
and that's the only album I ever probably heard any of the songs on was that first one, because everybody, it's just it seems to be one of the things that people have circulated to kind of throw around again over the past
of course
10 to 15 years, like most things, but
that iconic album cover,
it seems to be more identifiable, at least in my opinion. I see definitely more album covers in my life than I actually got to hear, because that's just the way the world was, back then.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't buy everything, right?
No, not when you're 10 years old and you have to go to the butcher shop and do all the kinds of other just things to make money around the house. You had to run errands and just bullshit like that. It was the 70s, man. It was the late 70s, early 80s. I was a kid, so you got what you got, man, and you search through those thanks lists is what I always used to read. When the bands have a thanks list and all the old records, I'm like, I've never heard of that band before. And so, you look for it when you go back to, when I go to this place called the Record Spot. It was on Kensington Avenue in my own neighborhood. Used to order records. I used to order my Led Zeppelin records from there. Just stuff like, that's the way the world was, man. It's much easier to get everything now. It's much easier to get everybody's past history. It's much easier to look up bands and be an expert at home. It's just convenient.
There's a lot of
cool. It's fine.
It's cool. It's cool. But I agree. A lot of kids are like, man, they kind of wish. I hear kids talking about tape trading. I was like, man, I never want to dub another tape again in my life. You know what I mean? So
I still record my songs on cassette for rehearsal at times. I still have a radio. As a matter of fact, let me show you. I'll show you this real quick.
Yeah.
Here is one of my beaters that I still use to record Bloodstorm songs on with riffs.
Nice.
Regular, dusty old, the case opens real nice and slow.
Yeah.
Weathered by time, right? So I'm still a cassette guy too.
That's cool. I've graduated to like recording like guitar riffs on my phone, so
I just use what I got,
Oh, I hear you. So anyhow, again, thanks for joining us. Just want to start off. What's the latest? I know I played that at the intro. I played I guess that would be considered the latest Bloodstorm song. What's going on? What's going on with Bloodstorm at the moment? You got anything cooking? Anything new?
I'm actually working on another song right now with Jim Rowe. I just went up and tracked another one last week. I kind of write them as I'm going along. I've been doing it. My personal life just took a different path many years ago. We get older and just things around us change. I haven't changed, but everything else around the world and outside my front door changes. So you kind of have to try to work around with what you got. Right. So, other people have moved on. Geographically, I've been told by so many people, they're like, man, you're just in the wrong spot of the country and the world. You should be like, if people have told me, it's like if I grew up in Florida or Texas, or if I was a California guy, or if I was in Europe, things been rolled a lot easier for me, I guess. But what are you gonna do, man? These are the cards I'm dealt. I'm working the best hand I can. That's it. Just take my influences and do the best I can. Just pretty much like anybody else.
You'd be, if that was the case, you could probably be a totally different person, due to the environment and where you grew up around. So, selfishly, I'm glad you grew up where you did, because we got some good music out of you, brother. So,
well, I would be a liar if I said I didn't take my influences and try to, learn from it and make them in my own way. I mean, that's what you kind of do as an art. Being an artistic person, I think music is such a wonderful creative art form to express yourself. I mean, when I was a boy, I would sit there and just draw, because I was really into artwork and comics, and I used to go to art school on the weekends. At grade school, I would go there, and I would have the record player be on the background. I'd have Kiss and AC/DC and Rush, Led Zeppelin, Who, all that playing. While I'm just drawing, and it's a part of yourself. It's a great stamp on your soul as a memory, and you can always go right back to it. To me, sound and smell triggers the most memory out of you, and it could bring you right back to a place and a time where you're at. For me, I can remember so much more detail out of smell and sound. Yeah. And I just think that's a universal thing. I just think people are more familiar with scent and sound, more so. I look at things in that way, and kind of being in my situation, going back to Bloodstorm and what I've been doing, paths, everybody took different paths. About 2009, 2010, things changed. I did the last real lineup I had was when I did the Stellar Exorcism. We were still a 3-piece, and I had Jorn Hage from Necrovore record leads for that album. He recorded the leads for us on that album. And he did a couple shows. We did just a few shows after that, and not too much, because like I said, I think that things have kind of changed around, in my neck of the woods for doing stuff. And some of the people life moves on for other people too. Sometimes things happen. They can't help it. They got to take care of themselves. They got to move on and do it. It's never a personal thing. It's life, man. This is the hand we're dealt, being on this prison planet of Earth. I'm just trying to make the best out of this fucking rock that I can. So I hear you. When I started Bloodstorm, I started by myself, really, and it was my successor to Goreaphobia, and I took about a year and a half hiatus from doing stuff so I can concentrate a lot more on myself spiritually, to find really more. I want to focus myself, like get out of certain environment. It's kind of you're cleansing yourself, you're washing yourself out in a sense. Hit the reset button, you start again, but you keep this in here the same, and you work with what you got in here again. Right. So I just, I figured the best way for me to start again is to do it fresh and new. And the best way to do it is do it by myself, figure out what motivates me the best when it comes to sound and music and writing and those things. And I started, I wrote a couple songs that turned into the first Bloodstorm demo, Flames of Battle demo. And I had my brother play drums, because fortunately for me, my brother was already a drummer. He's a percussionist. My brother was playing in just about 2 years before I started playing bass. My brother was playing in bands with local guys. So I was lucky. I had a brother that was a percussionist. So when I had them together, I was like, hey, Frank, if I had studio money, would you mind playing, we'll jam out. You could, do the drums for these songs for me until I find, like a lineup. He's like, yeah, sure. Why not? Fuck it, And so we just did it that way. I made a $200 demo. On an 8-track mixer, it wasn't the best, but I got my point across, and I just kind of was like, okay, well, this is when I'm starting. I just tried to do whatever I had, just try to make it my own way. I didn't want to be, I didn't want to have to be pressured into other people's schedule or way of thinking at that time period.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be, I just knew doing this was going to be something that it's going to have kind of its own path, and it's going to have its own way. I wasn't really banking on being a commercial success at all. Because I'm like, my view of it was when I was starting doing Goreaphobia, when I started writing for Goreaphobia in 1988, doing stuff, writing lyrics and shit, I just figured, I'm like, I'm going to be putting myself in an area where in this country, in Philadelphia, in the late 80s, I'm like, this isn't going to be something that's going to be, you're not going to, don't count on too many people making big promises to you because they're probably not going to follow through because I just saw the surroundings aren't going to be with what I want to do at the time. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it my way, because once you get other people's opinions and ideas put in there, they start wanting to have their idea out of you their way. Yeah. And it starts messing things up along the way. I don't want to do that. I said, it can't be about, trying to be the top man on the block. I'm the head of, like the big guy. I don't look at that as a competition. I think that's I personally think that takes away from your creativity. If you're going to compete with everybody about what you're trying to do and have 958 riffs in your song because I'm playing this and I'm that, I'm like, that's great. Many people will play me on their table. Here's the question I say. It's like, write me a song I'll remember the next day. Exactly. That's going to be impressive. Write a song. You have to have good rhythm. You got to have a song. You have to have something that's going to, a person listens to it, there's going to be something back in their head that's going to say, I remember, where did I hear that from? Oh yeah, it was this band, it was this song. Yeah, it was really good. You go back, you check other things out. Keeps you going. I think that's what a lot of those old rock albums were jam albums. And they kind of kept you interested. You want to hear the whole side. Next thing you know, you're flipping it over, you're hearing that. Next thing you know, now you are a fan, you love it. So I try to look at things that way. I'm not trying to be an innovator or reinvent things. All I'm doing is I'm simply taking all the things that I love about music and that's that feeling that it gives me through sound and that energy, and just connect with people that like it for the same reasons. No other simple thing, just to enjoy, just to enjoy the art of the music. Absolutely. Absolutely. I look at things that way. Yeah, I look at things that way, and my expression is aggressive. I'm a high energy guy. As a kid, I was running around lighting fireworks, burning dog shit, throwing toilet paper around, just running crazy in the street. I was a city kid. So I was a city kid. So you run around, everything is, it's martial arts flicks and horror movies and shit blowing up and Evel Knievel, and then boom, here comes Iron Maiden and Venom and Motorhead. Wow. So I got music that goes with the stuff I like to watch, that I could run around outside and be a little lunatic. Great. So I found my spot, and that's just what I do. So I keep all those influences, and I just do them with Bloodstorm, regardless of what happens outside of, the realm of, my home and the world. I just try to make the music that I always like to make. And I like to use the influences without trying to criticize myself, critique too much, right, or to overthink things. I think people overthink their songs and their music, and I think it kind of ruins the real essence of what the song should be. Something that you can enjoy listening to again the next day because you liked what you heard the first time. It keeps the thing going, man. I don't think AC/DC was successful for any other reason. The fact that they understand, Malcolm Young knew what it took to make a song, to have rhythm and make it say, this is the thing that's going to make your, Lemmy says it, makes your foot tap, you shake your head, it makes you get up and shout, hooray. Hell yeah. Those guys were right, that's the thing. If you do that, you're going to go back to them albums and them songs. It just happens. I'm 50 now, and I re-energized myself with, a lot of other things that from the past, because I think that music is missing in popular music. There isn't good rock bands. There hasn't been good rock bands. I personally don't think there's been good rock bands since the late 80s when it came to just rock bands. It's different. It's all different playing field. The world changes. People change, but not all of us change. We just, you find your way, you keep yourself grounded, and you work with what you got. And I think I do that with Bloodstorm. And whether if it's popular, I want it to be popular for the right reason, you know. And I'd rather have people enjoy it for the right reason. I'm not putting a measuring stick of nothing. I just do what I actually think and feel what's right to do at the time. And everything I write about, I'm very spiritual, occult person. So that's my expression lyrically. I do everything expressed that way because it has the most and the biggest, vast, undiscovered knowledge that there is out there to create with, especially in that high energy. It goes hand in hand, you know. So I learned a lot. I learned from Nasty Savage, from Voivod, you know, from other bands, you know.
We have actually we have somebody from Germany tuning in. We got some loyal Chris Gamble fucking fans here.
But I think they see Vasily.
Yeah.
He just did a huge interview with me last month, and the poor guy, he's been waiting for my interview for like a year. And I was just like, I am so sorry because I'm a single father and everything, and I'm raising my daughters on my own and stuff. So I've been homeschooling during the pandemic and all that. So I've been home with my daughters, just, you know, trying to take care of my house and my family, you know, and that's all I can do. And in the meantime, I'm just writing a new Bloodstorm album. So I've been writing these songs as it's been coming along. So
I heard there's a reissue of the first album coming out, right?
Yes, and if I may, I would like to just show it in the screen. Yeah, there you go. It's on. Here is it. Oh God, I'm sorry. I hear somebody in the background. Agnes Embers. This is the flyer. Okay. Here is his. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it in the camera.
What I can do is, whenever we can, I can put it in the description later on, and take people directly to it.
Oh, sounds great.
So, but what's the name of the label again? Just Agnes
Embers out of Italy.
Okay, yeah. So that's the. Hold on, where am I? So that's the reissue of the Atlantean, the first album, right?
Yes, sir. It is. That is done in the correct format, and Nicola's been a very good friend of mine for a long time. He did a split vinyl release with Bloodstorm and Moria back in 1999. Okay. And we did it was a live recordings from one of the Milwaukee Metal Fest in 96, I think it was. That's what it was taken from. And we did a cover of Exciter War as Hell on that in the studio. And on the other side was Moria. And he did a t-shirt and a patch in the vinyl. It was like a split vinyl. And he was just a very good guy. I mean, I value my friendship and work relations with people in the arts. You know, if it's drawing, writing, and music, I value people like that because I do think, for the most part, it's becoming so. I think it's becoming corrupt because there's too many people too hungry for the wrong reasons, and we're letting the wrong people in. And these people are getting in, and they're taking over. And they're financially stabilizing themselves, and they're moving people like us out. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's kind of how I see it. Right. I mean, there's always good people. There's always good and bad. You know, there just is. It just depends on what the person's looking for. Like I said, I just try to keep myself grounded in what I do, and just hope that it works and enough people like it, and I just keep going. You know, I do this. Are
you talking about Hellflame Nicholas? Somebody wants to.
Yes.
Or Carl.
Yes, Nick. Okay. Yup, that's him. Yes, it is.
Okay, there you go, Carl.
The way that this was done, Cacophonous. When I originally had it done, it was supposed to be an 8-song album, and Cacophonous, when they got the master tape, you know, it's great. This is great, and it was supposed to come out as is. And they changed the format of the CD. They cut lyrics out of Steel Burning Thunder because they didn't want to pay for an extra panel. So they cut lyrics out of that. They cut Clavicula Solomon-set, which is a song written specifically for that album. And that was kind of a big major for me. It was a kind of a major song. It's not like one of the demo songs I re-recorded. It's one of the songs I wrote for that album they cut out, you know?
Wow.
Like that shit. And we didn't know
it. Oh, yeah. I remember Cacophonous, yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't know they did it until we got the album. You know, it came back from England in the box. I opened the box up, And I look at it, I'm like, 7 songs? What the hell? You know, this is wrong. And I'm like, they cut out, I'm like, Frank, they cut out Clavicula Solomonus. You know, me and my brother looking at it, it's like they cut it out.
Wow.
It was just like, holy shit. It's like, why? Why was that? I got on the phone with him. I called over in England and I asked, I said, what was the problem with it? Why was it cut? And I was told, because you know there's always mystery people. You know, there's always somebody else that you don't know who's going to be the fall guy or the blame guy. Nobody takes really responsibility for themselves. It's always somebody else's invisible fault. I love that shit. But so now it was, oh, well, you know, my producer or whoever the hell it was, thought, you know, it was running too long. We had to cut it down because it's a debut album. We didn't want it to run past 35 minutes or something. So they cut that song out. And we didn't think it was strong. And I'm like, well, how come? I was like, yeah. And I was like, well, the lyrics are half cut out too for one of the songs. Why? It's like you didn't want to pay for an extra panel. It's just like, well,
wow.
Thanks for having a lot of faith and confidence in what I do. You know, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why would you take somebody and then you're taking their work? You're supposed to be behind the bands that you. If you're signing a label, at least if I was a record label, I wouldn't take somebody's work and just chop it up without talking to them first, or at least contact them and say, listen, the album's run this long, or it's just we have this much time we are allowed for the CD. This is our budget to pay. Is there something we could do? Let's fix this instead of just not saying nothing and just, you know, throw caution to the wind and just, well, here it is. And then you find out, you know, I just think you should just tell people it's just courtesy.
Yeah, of course, of course.
If you're signing somebody, back up your artist, man. I mean, have a background.
And promote them even after the album comes out too, by the way, because a lot of labels will push it like for a little bit, and then all of a sudden they forget all about you.
David Copperfield, man, boom, smoke and mirror, it's out. Yeah, I know. It's and
what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Exactly. Look, am I happy somebody picked it up, put it out? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
So at least they put it out. Yes, but I always said, there's going to come a day I'm going to put that album out right. Here it is, like over 25 years later, and you know, Nicola came along, like a good trusted friend, and you know, he said, "Hey, man, I got it." And I had my own raw copies, copies of all the songs. I had a copy I paid for too. And when I talked to Cacophonous a couple of years back about it, I actually talked to one of the girls there. She's still working for them. They're under a different name and a different publishing company. And oh, you can't use that record. It's ours. It's like, I was like, wait a minute. You are past the 25-year clause. And at 25 years, you are supposed to renegotiate with me. If you want to keep that record, you have to renegotiate with me on my terms. That is what that contract said. Oh, well, I don't have the contract. I was like, I know you don't have it, but I'm telling you, this is what it was. It's already past the point. Nobody renegotiated. I could do what I want with that. Yeah, but you use ours. I'm like, no. I'm not using yours. Well, what do you mean? I mean, I have my own copies of those songs when I recorded them.
Yeah.
What, am I stupid over here? You know what I mean?
Well,
you know,
good thing
I'm not giving you my work. It's like, I'm going to keep. I always learned, even back in Goreaphobia days, you just keep a copy for yourself, just because you don't know.
Right.
Because you just don't know what's going to happen. It's good backup to have.
So do you know when? Do you know about when the reissue will be out?
For the Landing War Dragon?
Yeah.
It's already out now.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Somebody, hey, Frasier, you can go buy it now. Just get with me later, Frasier, and we'll figure out where you can go get it. But I'll put it in the comments. I mean, in the link later on.
And if I may say,
yeah, of course.
If I may say, anybody interested, write me on Facebook. I'm not hard to find. Send me a message on Messenger. Yeah. I talked with Nicola about what he charges over there for CD, because I want to be fair. You know, I want to do what everybody else is doing. I'm not going to be like that with people. I said, what's a fair going price? He said, I charge 10. I was like, okay, I'll charge $10. I said, what's shipping? And he told me shipping, and I said, okay. So I figured, the way the post office is right now, I said, okay, $10, and I'll probably, I'd say $4 shipping. The way that it seems to be going right now, I'd say for $14, shipping included. So if you're interested in a copy of the album, send me a message on Messenger. I do PayPal. So if you want to get it, order it through me through PayPal. Send me a message through Messenger. I told people on Facebook that I would say this on your show tonight.
Yeah.
So hopefully if you rebroadcast this, they'll hear it again.
It'll be on YouTube forever.
Oh, well. Oh, boy. Well, Susie Quattro, your birthday's coming up in 2 days, dear. I hope you see this. Love you. You're going to be 71 and still love you.
Yeah, we'll get to her later. I knew you would want to talk about her. So anyhow, everybody get with Chris, get with me. If you can't get a hold of him, I'll get you in touch with him.
Thank you.
And everybody support. I mean, come on, man. $14 shipping in the U.S. for a CD. What more do you want, man? Go get it. It was reissued the way it was originally supposed to be reissued, and the artwork, y'all saw the artwork is sick. So we got Mark from Impetigo says he's going to get it. So if Mark from Impetigo is going to get it, your asses better get it.
Hi, Mark. Haven't seen you in a long time, buddy. Hi.
I'll be getting one myself. I don't know if you remember going back just
sure.
Real quick. You actually gave me a copy of your first demo when you were in Arlington, Texas, in '97 when you guys played it at that warm up show.
Oh God, yes, that was great.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little while. But since we're talking about blood
stories,
yeah, no, I know. Trust me, I've been talking to some of your friends, and I want to hear some of the stuff you got to say, brother. Trust me.
I love them guys. Love them.
Of course. All right, so let's go way back. You mentioned your brother. Yeah. And we'll get to some of his stuff in a little bit. But I took a picture, and I forgot to ask you. Hopefully, it's cool. But I guess is this you and him way back in the day?
Oh God, yeah. Hey, look, it's on Facebook, man. Anybody in the world can see. Yeah, that's my brother's wearing the. Look at that. You can tell it's the '70s. Look at the sweaters, man. Yeah. And I'm holding Ace Frehley because Ace was my hero when I was a little boy. You know, I think that was 6 or 7 in that picture.
Wow.
I'm trying to put the cake. Yeah, I was. My Uncle Bill made me that cake. It's on my father's bar. My father. That was an anniversary gift from my mother. It was a bar. It was in our living room in our house, and right behind that bar, my dad had a huge 2 stereo 8-tracks back there. And my dad and my sister Barbara used to get all these 8-tracks from this place called Peaches, and they would get crates and crates of 8-tracks, and there'd be everything in there from Slade and Uriah Heep and Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and Beatles to all the way up to me and my brother had Kiss 8-tracks. Those were our 8-tracks for Kiss and The Who, and we had a couple Rush, and yeah, because that's all we really had at that time period. But yeah, my Uncle Bill used to make cakes. He was a German baker. Nice. And he made homemade cakes. And my family, I have a big family, and I'm the youngest out of 5. Right. So my Uncle Bill always made our cakes. We were just we had a big family, man. My neighborhood was like, in Philadelphia, it was a working class neighborhood. There was nothing but factories, junkyards, schools, and houses around us. And all the mechanic shops were run by either the pagans or the warlock biker gangs.
Wow.
But they were the extended police of the neighborhood back in those days. And nobody messed with anybody's kids, really. It was an unheard of thing. At least in my neighborhood back then. I mean, we used to walk the block. Hell, man, 7 years old, I'd be 25 blocks away from my house. I mean, it was just, you didn't have to really worry. You know, the cops back in the day, if the cops were rolling up on you, ran, or you stood still like, yes, sir. They would thump the skull back in the day. There was no, I'm going to shoot. They were just like, boom, what are you doing? You know, and they would take you home, embarrass you. And then your mom and dad would whip your ass, you know, for embarrassing them. But that's the way the things were back then, you know?
Right, yeah. Even
and
I know when I was a kid.
Yeah, and your neighbors were kind of extended family. So you had that. And if anybody strange came in the neighborhood, if the neighbors weren't like, who is that person? Either the warlocks or the pagans. And I had warlocks around us. There was 3 biker guys, Denny, Mike, and Vince. I'm not going to say their last names, but Denny, Mike, and Vince were the extended police of the neighborhood right around where I lived. And if they didn't recognize you, they would walk up and say, who are you? What are you doing around here?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they had their own business going on. But they never messed with people's houses, cars, or kids. And if you didn't mess with the biker gangs, they left you alone. But they were like a kind of extended police back in then. It was an interesting time back in those days, man. And it's, just things are different, that's just the way it is. But a lot of good memories, so I was kind of raised around it was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of things going on in my house and outside of the neighborhood. And everybody was really like that, it was really, girls played stickball and football and bottle caps and lit fireworks and, jumped dirt bike ramps with the boys. We just did all the same stuff. It was really what it was,
Yeah. Oh, I totally.
It was cool, and for me, that's in me, and it shows in kind of everything I enjoy in my life. Still, I just
did your brother? Is your brother the one? Since he's a little older, is he the one that kind of got you into extreme music, or what was the catalyst? What was the gateway for you getting into extreme music?
I'll tell you that. Definitely. Well, when we were boys, my first time hearing music on my own, and really liking it was Kiss Destroyer. I was 6 years old, and that album, Love Gun was already out by then because it was 1977. Kiss was already on TV, for the commercials for the records. Me and my brother were like, whoa. But now my sisters, see, my older sister, Grand Funk Railroad, Uriah Heep, David Bowie, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Beatles, Stones. My sisters were all that stuff. My father was into all that stuff. My father, he used to remind me of Peter Fonda in Easy Rider, because my dad had a Triumph motorcycle with like that glitter kind of tan gold glitter in the gas tank with the ivory and gold, and it said Triumph on it and all. My dad piled around my neighbor. Like I said, my neighborhood was that's what was kind of around neighbors, biker guys in my neighborhood. Everybody was like a mechanic or a plumber or just worked on houses, and that's just what it was. And you're around it, So my dad was like that, and we were a music family. My mother had ABBA and all the disco stuff and 3 Degrees and Lou Rawls. My mother had all that going on. My sisters were the hippie stoner rock and the David Bowies and all that stuff. And me and my brother, it was Kiss. And then right after Kiss for a couple years, man, it was just already big. We already knew, and then we already knew The Who. The Who became big for us, and so did Rush and Led Zeppelin. And then AC/DC finally got big right when Bon Scott died. And I remember my brother, he worked a lot. When he was in high school, he was working. He would get records because he had money. I was still little in school, so I was doing chores around the house, going to record spot to get my cassette tapes or my records. My sister Patty, my youngest out of the sisters, belonged to Columbia House. Those penny records?
Yeah,
you send them the other way, you get the records. She bought me Judas Priest, British Steel.
Oh, wow.
And I already knew, Breaking the Law and Hellbent for Leather. I knew those songs.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, wow, this is great. So I really liked that. And then really it was like, AC/DC was in play. And Bon Scott had died, Back in Black was the big thing. We were all in our neighborhood. It went from liking Kiss. And then when Dynasty came out, because at that time, the solo records in 78, well, once that happened, as a boy, I was like, well, this band is Ace. Without Ace in this band, they wouldn't have really good records. But that was my thinking at that time period. Because, Paul was really the backbone of that writing in that band. I think it was Paul. But without Ace, I think a lot of those songs would be completely different. That's the way me and my brother saw it. So Dynasty came, they were being disco-y. We were just like, but here comes AC/DC. Bam. And it's like, whoa, you're hearing all that. You still got The Who. We were into The Who. We were in the Rush, and then, you got to hear Judas Priest. And then it was Christmas of 82. And with my own Christmas money, my father took me to the store. It was Wall Sound and Video. And I just got Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, Motorhead, Overkill,
damn,
and Venom Black Metal.
Holy shit.
Those were the 3 records at the same time at that Christmas, along with my Star Wars toys, because I still love my Star Wars stuff. I got records too, but I bought those records, and when he took me to the store, I mean, I already saw advertisements for Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast, because it was already in some of the remember Cream Rock magazine? There was advertised for the Beast on the Road tour, so that was being advertised. You know, you read about it, you heard advertisements on rock radio back in the day, but Wall-to-Wall Sound and Video had the section where you had imported artists, and those were the records that were that's where all the records that you wanted to really hear were coming in that section, and those were the higher priced albums.
Yeah,
you know, not like buying Yes or The Who, you know, or Kiss or AC/DC. The import records were the higher dollared ones at those days. So you're looking at that. It's like I picked up, but I heard a Motorhead. I looked at Motorhead. I was like, well, that album cover Overkill. Like, boom! I was just that boar head with the horns, and it's just exploding. It said Overkill. I turned it around. I'm like, wow, jeans, long hair. They're like bikers. They're like bikers with bullet belts and guitars. I'm like, these are like, to me, they were like, well, these are like the Pagans and Warlocks doing a band. That in my head, I'm like, wow, it's like neighborhood guys playing heavy rock. You know, they're playing heavy rock. You know, just looking at it, I was like, I had to get it. Boom, I got that. I'm like, look, I already knew what Iron Maiden was. So I'm like, I already got that one. Venom, never heard about yet. But I saw that record. I picked it up. I turned it around. And there it was, that famous back. And it's like, I'm looking at it. And I was already a fan of The Exorcist. And I still have nightmares of Reagan. Once in a while, I have a recurring nightmare about Reagan. When I turned that around, all I thought was, this is The Exorcist, but in music. Yeah. They were the pinnacle of what my energy level was then, was hearing that. When I took that thing home, played it, my bar went, okay, I can't really listen to Kiss no more. That's how, yeah, I mean, you know, I love The Who and love Rush and all that stuff, but I'm like, but now my focus was Venom.
Yeah. And
then here's Judas Priest, and Motorhead was there with the aggressiveness, and Iron Maiden. It was all, I'm like, Venom, like, look at that. I mean, that was horror put into music for me. And the energy was wham. It was just TNT. It was boom. It was everything I wanted out of AC/DC and Motorhead and The Who. That boom, that big energy and everything just, but it was done in a horror form. It was satanic. It was horror. The imagery, the lyrics. I'm like, this is the thing that is the bar now that I could say, what is like this, or what can be better than this, or what was like. So I wanted albums that were like that at that period. After that, then here comes Slayer, Show No Mercy. Here comes Metallica with Kill 'Em All. And then, you know, Megaforce, Important Records, right, you know, right out of New York.
Yeah.
You know, John Zazula, he had, boom. Now you're seeing advertisements. You're seeing all this advertising. Now you're seeing Anthrax and Overkill and Raven. And, you know, you're seeing all of them come out. And I was like, and there was on the back of that advertisement for Megaforce, there was a list on the back of that. It had Metal Records. And it was some label in England. It was a distributor, and it had A to Z Metal Records with the titles. And I remember everything from Acid to Zebra was in there at that time period. And I kept that thing in my pocket when I would go back to Wall-to-Wall Sound and Video, and my father had a membership because that's where he went to rent all the movies. My dad would get all his movies, and we would get the action and horror and all that. Yeah. And I take that list with me, and I'm looking through the input records, and I start finding stuff. A discovery all on my own. Another one was Voivod. Never read about it, never saw it. I saw it in the store. I picked up that Warren Payne. I looked at that. I looked at Croggle the Exterminator. I didn't know that's what his name was at the time. I said, look at this. It's like an iron skeleton spike, Mad Max Undead Warrior on the cover. I'm like, well, here's my next of kin to Venom and Slayer. I'm like, whoa. And I turn it around. I'm reading the songs. I was like, sold. Boom. You just start, because at the time, you could pick albums. You could pick good bands out by that album cover. And if you read the back of the songs, I'm like, oh, you got a winning ticket, because there was nobody really commercializing that, you know, at least over here yet. So that's what I went by. My brother at the time period, going back to him, see what I said about my tangent, Francisco?
That's all right. That's all right.
Went, whoosh. So anyway, my brother was still into, He liked more of the mainstream stuff because he was a little bit older than me. And my brother had a friend, the Morris brothers, Bob and Tim Morris, and they had an uncle that worked for the stadium Spectrum here in Philadelphia, Spectrum Stadium.
Yeah.
Joan Jett, their big tour there and all that. It was a big stadium for rock events.
Rocky fought there.
Yes. Yeah, all that stuff. So my brother's friend's uncle worked there, so he had tickets and he can get backstage passes. Well, my brother was going to all the commercial, the Motley Crue, Rat, Twisted Sister, Triumph. He saw Stryper there. He saw all that stuff because his friends were in with that. And back in those days, think about it. You're talking 83, 84, 85. Yeah. All that was just bringing all the girls.
Yeah.
With the leopard skin, neck to the bottom, the hair's out to here, tight clothes, earrings, they were just perfumed and pretty and all that. So my brother and his friends went with those bands.
Yeah.
I like the jeans and sneaker girls. I like the girls that were like the Lizzies from the Warriors. Those were my girls. Those were the girls I wanted to hang with. The ones that'll say, "You touch me, I'm going to break your face." I was more into women like that. There was an excitement level with girls that had that attitude. Not saying I want to be with some toothless, person with an eye patch and a bum leg, but the excitement level, my energy level, again, it's just the way it was.
I hear you.
My brother didn't.
Yeah.
So I found that on my own.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
I didn't know, I guess recently while I was doing research, preparing, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you did a zine before called Regurgitation.
Wow. Yeah. That was actually my friend Greg. My friend Greg Pitluski came up with that. He wanted to do that. And me and Alex Brooks, we were all friends. We all lived in the same neighborhood.
Right.
And it's like Greg at the time had a job. So he was able to pay for the printing. I was like, man, I go to school. I do chores for my mom and dad and get money for that to do odd jobs. I don't have a steady job yet. So yeah. So I was like, yeah, I had a typewriter because my sisters had typewriters. So I was like, I'll type up reviews. So we would write reviews. So I wrote a couple of reviews. I interviewed Mike Browning for his Nocturnus. Even though I never got to hear the dates on it, I only had the Signs of Horror at the time. I wasn't able to get the debut with Vince on it. But those songs were brilliant. Unholy Fury is one of my favorite Nocturnus songs.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to cover that with Bloodstorm years ago. I was that close. I had Mike's permission to cover the song and Vince's blessing too. I really wanted, but it never happened, of course. But so I did. I
had Mike on the show. So if anybody hasn't watched the episode with Mike, it's great. Check it out.
He's a good friend of mine. I made friends with him back in '88, and I've been friends with him still to this day. Once in a while, we talk on the phone. Not much as of recent because he's a family man. He's got things going, but me too. Right. But I spent time down in this house, and he is one of the people I always took 100% serious because I've been around him. I know him as the person. He's the real deal. Mike's the real
absolutely.
deal.
He's one of those guys that doesn't get the credit. I mean, the guy was playing death metal way back in '84. You know what I mean? So
he made the best Morbid Angel songs, in my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree, but Mike's hand in those old songs were the good songs. It's just proof.
So how many issues did you work on that Regurgitation? Just that one?
Just one, because at the time we were still we're still kicking around in high school, and
yeah, of course,
you get girlfriends and and I wanted to start doing music. Because the writing thing is cool and all, but I'm like, I want to play the music. I love it. I've been listening to this stuff so long. I really want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And there really wasn't many people picking up an instrument. And the guys that were picking up doing music at that time frame in my neighborhood, they didn't take it so serious. It was kind of like it was a stunt. It was a way for them to impress the younger girls. Look at me. I got a guitar. I'm like, yeah, but you can't play a fucking song. Oh, sorry. You can't play a song and you don't rehearse. It's like you're standing there with your weed and your booze with a guitar. Okay, you got a couple girls over there sitting there going, Edie, cool. But you ain't doing anything with that instrument in your hand. Standing there. Pictures taken, not all, but that was some of the guys, that was their attitude. It was
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys were playing hardcore. Hardcore, I should say the crossover hardcore,
right.
You know, Exploited, Cro-Mags, GBH, Excel, Crumbsuckers. My brother was more into that than he was after he got out of hanging with the Morris Brothers and going to all the glam metal events. Yeah. He got more into the street level, but he got more into hardcore stuff. And that's when my brother started playing drums more. He was learning to play drums hardcore, New York hardcore style, and Great British hardcore style. My brother's drumming is a lot of that. And when I had other drummers during the course of Bloodstorm playing those old songs, you're like, what is your brother doing? Do you mind if I do a beat this way? Because when my brother plays a song like Destroyed, that's an example. My brother does not the typical downbeat, upbeat. He does a downbeat. And that's a hardcore style that he got from listening to, like, you know, Cro-Mags and Crumbsuckers and Exploited and all that, and Broken Bones. My brother, he liked that, and he would do like this. It was just his touch, you know. It was like anybody plays an instrument. It's your touch. It's your style on it.
It's your own style.
Right. And I think that added to some of the characteristics for some of the earlier Bloodstorm songs my brother's playing. He had kind of a New York hardcore style, and some of his drum beats were really kind of like that. Because even Proscriptor from Absu, he filled in and did one Bloodstorm show for me. I hired him to come up here and play a show, and he told me, he's like, Destroyer. He's like, man, he's like, that's a weird beat your brother's doing, and that's coming from him, you know. And he's that guy's a genius at it. He's like, your brother Gamble, man. He's like, hey, what the hell is he doing? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, yeah. He's like, it's straight. He's like, dude, do you mind if I just do this? Like, yeah, man, whatever it takes, man. I was like, I understand. It's a touch. Playing somebody else's style a lot of times isn't so easy. I mean,
right. Absolutely.
I just think that way, you know.
Yeah. Let's. All right. So you talked about wanting to play music. So Goreaphobia was formed in '88. And originally, I don't know if a lot of people may not know this, but originally you were just playing bass, and you guys had another singer. I think it was Kenny or something. Is that right? Kevin Brennan. Okay, I was close. And then, I mean, obviously, eventually you became the bassist vocalist. So, can you talk to us a little bit about recording, like for the first time, recording that demo? You got any memories of that recording session?
Absolutely, I do. Well, Kevin was a great guy. We started out with him, and before we had Craig Smolowski, we had this this other guy, Big Mike. We used to call him Big Mike. Big Mike. We used to, he actually lived on one of the streets from my sister's house. He lived down the street on my sister's old block. So we used to play at his house, and he was a good drummer, but he was a family man already. We weren't. Alex and I were still teenagers, you know. Right. He was already a man, you know. He had a wife that was a police officer, and, you know, and I forget what he did. He worked too, but he was a good drummer, but he already said, he's like, look, man, he's like, I'm not going to be able to, like, really do this thing full on forever. And he's like, you know, you guys are good, and, you know, you guys should look for somebody else. You know, I'll play with you to get somebody else. And we were like, oh, wow, you know, what are we going to do? He's a good drummer, but you're young and you're starting, so you really don't know until you know. So, but we had Kevin, and Kevin was a unique individual. He was very much a 60s guy, you know, peace, love, and he loved he loved to smoke, and he loved his hallucinogens. He dropped acid, did all those things. And Kevin was very, even though he was a very hippie-ish guy and lived that lifestyle, and he loved his brown leather jackets and all that, he was very much, he had a good voice, and he was a very pessimistic, very kind of sad inside person, and you know, escape was marijuana and acid for him and his girlfriend at the time too, and that's what he was kind of consumed with that, and he kind of lived a sad life, but he was a nice guy. He's a gentle soul, and he had a morbid side that would come out in lyrics. He would sing about wanting to die and death and things, and it fit the glove for us. I'm like, well, my lyrics are. I was writing at that time period. I was heavily influenced lyrically by Peter Steele, and the whole first debut Carnivore album lyrically was absolute brilliance to me. and also Killjoy from Necrophagia, the whole Season of the Dead album. Those two albums for me, lyrically, were the blueprint of what I wanted out of Goreaphobia, to make a very horror, supernatural type of band, because even though I was interested in the occult, I was very young. I don't know enough about it to write about it. But I know horror movies, and I'm interested in spirits and ghosts and the supernatural. And I loved all the Lovecraft movies and the Brian Useman, like, From Beyond and Reanimator, all that stuff, and Exorcist. So I'm like, I can write lyrics about that and maybe make a story about it and, do it this way. So that was my beginning platform lyrically. And at the time, I just wanted to concentrate on playing bass. Kevin liked the way I wrote my lyrics. Yeah. And I just said, Alex, I said, dude, you just write all the music. It makes more sense. You just write all the music. I'll concentrate on the concepts. I came up with the band name and the idea and kind of the, the playing field where we're kind of going to be at, so to speak. So we had like a good core of what the band would be. And I figured I figured I could be probably a good band leader. I didn't want to be an in charge guy, because my feeling personally is, if you're going to be a band, it's every individual that's got to be in there. Everybody has a say, and everybody's opinion and feeling is going to matter. If you're sitting there and you're playing that instrument, you matter. It can't be about one guy. It's got to be everybody in that room together. Otherwise, what's the point of having the band? If you're going to be a solo artist, be a solo artist. I liked all those old records where they were jam records, like those Led Zeppelin records. They were like jam records. The Who, they were jam records, because these guys got into a studio and they played together as a unit, as a real group, and they made something happen and they recorded it. And I thought that's the core of a good band. If you're going to survive or have real longevity or have something that's going to mean something to somebody later on in life, if they're hearing it, you got to make something that they're going to identify with. And I think we're social beings. We're social beings. As much as people say, I hate people and hell with everybody and F off and this and that, somehow, some way, I think we want at least one person that can understand us at the end of the day. Right. And if it can't be a person, I think music or reading or artwork is some way that our soul touches other people. So if we don't have them physically, that one of those vessels has to be there for us, I think, as people, to it lets you maneuver through this world, this chaotic world we're around. So I looked at things that way. So I'm like, if I'm going to be in this field, I want to be able to be something that identifies to a lot of people, but be collectively identifiable. And I think that's why bands, everybody's got to be together. It's got to count. Everybody's got to count. That's what makes the best bands. I personally think that way. Can't be about one guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. So that there was several versions of that. I had a buddy of mine scan some stuff that he had. So there was like 2-3 different versions, I think, of the first demo. And my buddy Roy put the
Roy Fox.
He used to help you guys like distribute and stuff, right?
All the time. If I'm interject, Roy was one of the most really, really awesome friends that we had for us as a band, and in our personal lives too. He stayed in touch with me from 1990 still to this day. Roy has always backed up and supported not just Goreaphobia, but even Bloodstorm. He's actually one of the handful of people that always used to show up at all of our shows. And you have to love people like that when you're involved in doing something. And those people do have to count for you in some way with what you do, because you're making those connections with these people. And these connections go past your grave. It's a stamp on this planet, what you do. And if you can have people be a part of what you're doing, it's got to count for something. And that's got to matter more than being the big guy on the block, and I'm the most popular, and I'm the most famous, and I'm the bestest. I think it's got to be the general like camaraderie of the power of what music does for people. And it matters. If without good people behind your music, you don't have a platform to play your music on. You don't have your energy going out there and people to grab what you're doing, feed off of it, and give it back to you the same way you give it to them. Right. And going into the studio and making those Goreaphobia songs, those original songs, we actually had 6 songs, but we only used 3 of them. We didn't use Cremate and Hate. We had a song called Corpse Grinder, which, this is a true story too. George Fisher, when he was playing, and I forget the band he was in, but they were in Maryland. There was he was in a band in Maryland. Mark Gantz did a magazine.
Weren't they called Corpse Grinder?
No, they were called it was something else.
Somebody in the chat will let us know what Corpse Grinder's band in the
George Fisher was in Baltimore. Yeah, it was early. It was like 1990, 89. He was in another band, and I believe Lee Coach was the drummer at the time too.
Well, Mark Impetigo says it was Corpse Grinder. I don't know.
Was it?
I don't know. Have several people saying Corpse Grinder, but who knows? I can't tell you.
For some reason, and maybe just for some reason, remember that. I wrote that lyric Corpse Grinder, and he came up and he's like, Corpse Grinder. I said, yeah. And he's like, that's great that you think that way, because he used to come up and hang out with us. Yeah, he was this other guy, Mark. Oh my God, I want to say his last name was Gantz. I'm not sure if that's his name, but I could see the man's face. He had a mustache, he had feathered dark hair, and they were out of Baltimore. And George, and it was one of the live tapes Roy Fox put out. I think he did a tape. And Roy had one of our first shows, and we actually talked about George being in the crowd with us, George Fisher. Yeah. And I kept calling him George Corpse Grinder because he wanted to be called that. So I was calling him that back then, because he used to come up and hang at our rehearsal place. So did the Ex Mortis. They used to come up and hang out with us. At that time period, we got Craig Smolowski when Mike left. Just to backtrack when Craig Smolowski came into the band. He was introduced to us because there was a local music, like a music store on South Street in Philly called Rock and Roll Plus. And in that store, that was a store where you can get everything from your T-shirts and your Sprite bracelets and bullet belts and leather gauntlets and the crazy makeup and, cassettes and records and albums in there. And fanzines were in there too. And they were selling demo tapes. The guy, Joel, the owner, would sell bands local demo tapes if you took them in. And there was a girl behind the counter, Ann Bowman. Ann Bowman was working there at the time. Alex and I went in. Ann knew this band, Vilamosh. They were a band on the other side of town outside of Philly. And the drummer, Craig, was looking, she knew that the band was kind of, I think they weren't really steady, but she already knew him. And she suggested Craig. She kind of helped Craig and us get together. Me and Alex got with Craig. Right. So Ann kind of helped that in that way. And we introduced Ann into all these other underground bands because she didn't know anything about underground music at all. But, listen, we all don't know everything. We all start somewhere, don't we? But it's how we make our connections and what we do with them later that count. So anyway, we really made a pretty good community here in Philadelphia for underground metal. And when Craig joined the band, he was into Venom, he was into Hellhammer, he was into Sodom, he was into everything we were into. He was into everything. We were like, oh, this is great. We don't have to tell him kind of what we're looking at. He's into all this. He was already in the Carnivore. It was like, this guy's perfect. And Craig was a good high energy guy, but Craig was a little unstable. And I kind of like that in a person because they come up with some really, when you get like Phil Campbell from not Phil Campbell, Phil Taylor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Motorhead. Phil
Taylor, Motorhead. Lemmy used to say how much he loved Phil Taylor because he was unpredictable.
Right.
And he's right. I think it's better when musicians are unpredictable, especially when they're drummers, because they are phenomenal drummers when they're unpredictable and they're a little chaotic and they kind of go outside and they spin their own box. So he was kind of like that. We saw him that way. So we thought he fit great with us. And those songs that we made came to life. And Craig was already working. And at that time, Kevin Brennan already left the band because he was in a bad way with drugs, and he went into a mental institution. So they said, well, Alex thought it would be a good idea if I did vocals because he knew I could do vocals. And I thought about it, and I'm like, living in our area, I'm like, nobody could do vocals the way I would like to do it. I'm like, I'm looking for that Pete Steele, Killjoy kind of sound with the Tom Warrior kind of gruff and the Kronos kind of, I said, well, why not? I'll do it. What the hell? I got to start somewhere. So I just started doing vocals and playing bass. And then we just turned into a three-piece because Henny had left. He never played on the demos. So he was out. So it was just the three of us. And Craig Smolowski paid for those reel tapes. He paid for that demo out of his own pocket. Alex and I didn't have money at the time. Craig was the one that made that demo happen because he had the money at the time. He was doing cement work. So we did it at Snugfit Studio over a weekend. We had enough money to do 3 songs. So we just picked the 3 that we thought best. Polar Question, Triton, Devious Regredation, Organ Donor, and they became kind of the sample of that demo. And those other songs, we just played them live. And they never made it onto a record until Roy Fox, when he did the Validation of Abomination. Yeah.
We'll get
I can't hear you, Francisco.
You can't? Hello.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, I know. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can everybody out there?
Let me know if you can hear me. I can't hear you yet.
Yeah, let me see if let me try something. Can you hear me now? No?
I don't have headphones.
I know, I don't either. Well, I just unplugged mine.
Let me see my.
Can everybody hear me? Oh, everybody hears us, but that sucks. I don't know why maybe you pushed something on there. I don't know.
I can't hear you.
Hey, I tell you what, do me a favor.
You want me to get
log off and log right back on the same exact way.
Turn it off and then come back?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Maybe that'll help. So we're gonna pause for a little bit. So what do y'all think? Chris is cool. I got a lot of stuff to cover with him, but it's been great so far. He's a damn good storyteller. Yeah, he might have hit the mute button, but we'll see what happens. So in the meantime, how's everybody doing? It's not over yet. He'll be back. Well, I haven't even covered half the shit I wanted to cover, but sometimes that happens. I got my V8 today. I know Tom's got his Bush Light, maybe. I don't know. Mark, I'm not sure what Mark's drinking. Of course you're drinking, Tom. So we'll wait for Chris to come back on. This usually takes no time at all. But if anybody thinks of any questions, I mean, I got a lot of stuff to cover, but maybe you can think of something that I won't think of. Please put it in the comments. Let's get that chat moving. It's been cool. Busch Light. Got some beers going. What are you drinking, Mark? Black Label beer? What are you drinking? Okay, I think I see him. He's
back.
All right, can you hear me?
Hey, I'm sorry, I couldn't for some. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, great.
I'm so sorry. I guess it was something here.
No problem at all.
How far did I get for you?
Huh?
How far did I get for you in the answer? You remember where we left off?
Oh, we were
the demo in the studio.
Yeah, you were talking about how Craig
paid for everything.
I guess funded the demo and all that.
Yeah, he paid for the reel tapes. Yep, that was out of him, and I did all the. I paid for the cassette tapes and the artwork to get done. Phil Hampton, your death. I was already in touch.
Oh, yes, thank you for bringing that up. I was going to ask you that. I mean, it's that unmistakable Phil Hampton artwork. You know, he's got his own style and disgusting, sick.
He fit like a glove for what I did.
Yeah. So, and then, I mean, everybody knows the stories about Seraphic Decay, but they ended up putting the demo out on EP like several different ways.
Yeah.
And everybody's enjoying your stories, by the way. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I told you I'm a bit.
Yeah. So this was. So let's move on to. Let me see. What else do I have? I got a few. Yeah. Actually, yeah. Go ahead. Let me just put up this another.
Sure. Go ahead.
A buddy of mine, John, put these. He scanned some cool stuff for me to share and all that. So
yeah, I haven't seen that one in a long time.
Yeah, that's the old Seraphic ad. So you guys are on there, rigor. I mean, look at all that stuff that ended up being just classics, you know.
Sign of the times too. It was an exciting time for underground in America. It was really good. There was some promising stuff, you know.
Yeah, and then okay, yeah. So Phil Hampson.
Yeah.
How did I know you guys were in touch early on with those guys, and how I guess through maybe tape trading or writing or whatever. So talk a little bit about Phil's artwork and all that.
Well, going back to Regurgitation magazine, we already heard about Nuclear Death. We read a lot about them. We had trusted people in our tape trading scene that recommended them to us. So I sent them an interview, and or Greg sent it. I think Greg sent it. I did Mike Browning's, and I did Incubus from Louisiana, the Serpent Temptation. I did those two.
Yeah.
I think Greg might have done Nuclear Death. But anyway, we did that. I wrote to Laura. Lori's the one that wrote back to me, and I ordered all their tapes. I said, I love it. I want to hear it. And became pen pals with Lori very early on. Around the same time I became friends with Mike, I became friends with Lori. And we were good friends. And they were up and coming on Wild Rag back then. And then they were kicking off a tour right around when Goreaphobia did our first demo. And Seraphic Decay was in talks with us to put that out on 7-inch. Nuclear Death were doing their U.S. tour.
Yep.
And we were talking on the phone. I used to talk to Lori on the phone a lot. We had a lot in common, and we were buddies.
She had a lot of. I don't mean to interrupt, but she had a lot of cool things to say about Goreaphobia. I had her on the show.
I'm glad.
She was really cool, and she like one of the few bands that she named that she really appreciated was you guys early on or whatever. Just thought I'd let you know that.
Yeah, she spent a month here. They were at my house for a month on that tour. They were like living in my house for like a month. It was a lot of fun. We actually well, yeah, like I said, we talked on the phone a lot. I used to talk to Pat Raniere from Hellwitch on the phone a lot. I talked to Mark from Fatal on the phone a lot. I used to talk to Mike Browning on the phone. Hell, man, who else? Scott Roof from Ripping Corpse. I used to talk to him. I talked to him on the phone once in a while. We used to talk to Apparition guys on the phone, and then Immolation. We were talking to everybody.
Did you use those? I know I've heard like McEntee and other people talk about using those phone cards to make long distance calls, because I know shit wasn't cheap back then.
I had my own phone, and at that time in 1990, I used to work a night shift. And here's the kicker. My first real official job, this is what I did. From 3:30 in the afternoon to 11 o'clock at night, I made Bibles. I was in a book bindery. I worked in a book bindery, and we made Gideon Bibles. Glued that sucker together on the pages, put it on the conveyor belt, put it in a box, shoof, and ship it out. You know what? It was a paycheck. I'm like, I don't care. I'm getting a paycheck, you know? I don't care. Believe me, I grew up. I was raised Catholic, and I learned to stop believing that fairy tale right around George Carlin used to say, about the age of about 9, when you come to reason.
Yeah.
George Carlin, yeah.
Of course,
we were indoctrinated.
Carlin's a god, man. Carlin, he is a god.
Yeah, we were indoctrinated into that club at an early age. Catholicism in Philadelphia.
I was the same way. I made my exit at an early age too.
But back in those days, they were the better schools in the 70s. In Philadelphia, those were the schools you wanted to be in. If you're a working class family, you wanted your kid to be in that school. You didn't want to be in the school where they're throwing desks down the fire escape just to watch them land on. But that happened quite a bit. There was one guy. I don't mean to get off a tangent, but real quick, this is how some public schools were. There was a guy. His name I'll just call him Wexler. This guy was always in trouble. He was the first time I seen a guy put broken up red brick in a pillowcase with soup cans and use it as a big mace and swing that son of a bitch around like a big flail. And boom, and hit people with it. And he took that son of a bitch thing into school, and he was clocking people with that when they were coming out the fire doorstep. He just waited for him to swing that thing, and wham. Wow. He was one of those people I didn't know him that good. My friends knew him. They said that dude's nuts, and I met him a couple times. He had missing teeth and shit. He was a mess.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you don't want to go to school with them guys because you saw where they were going to wind up. At least my parents did, and I went to school. It's like, you know what, whatever. It's just like, listen, I just want to do artwork and just, you know, watch my science fiction movies and my Marvel comics and my records, man. I didn't care. Whatever I got to learn, I'll ace the test. I'm just going to get through it and do what I want to do. That's fine. My parents were very cool, and they never told me that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I'm very fortunate. My family, my dad used to say, as long as the police ain't showing up at their front door for you or neighbors, I don't have a problem. Because if they're not showing up, that's just the way it was. Though, like I said, we're talking. It's just it's the 70s. That's just the way it was. But back to Nuclear Death and all. So they did their tour.
Yeah.
We were talking on the phone. They were set up. We used to have a lot of shows at a place, G. Willikers in New Jersey, Pensacola, New Jersey.
Look, yeah. Go ahead, keep talking. I'm gonna show you something.
It became a hot spot in the kind of in the area of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and even down in Delaware and Maryland.
Check that out.
It's 25 minutes away from where my house physically is. Yup, that's it. That's many a parking lot in there. I remember many times. Seeing Will Raymer in the parking lot and Matt when he was still alive, rest his soul.
Yeah.
Will walk. Everybody would clear the path when Will. Like, oh, there's Raymer, man, get out of the way. He was a wonderful guy. Will's still the same guy I met all those years ago. I call him Ajax all the time when I see him. I was like, you're Ajax. He knew exactly what I was talking about. Ajax from the Warriors. I was like, you're Ajax, man. You're Ajax. He'd laugh and he'd go, yeah, that's right, man. I was like, yeah, dude, you're Ajax. But love the guy, he's great. But that was many a show. And so that was the hub where we used to have all the time. There was always Goreaphobia, incantation, immolation, apparition, or it was usually mortician, Goreaphobia, immolation, and incantation were usually the four bands. And Deceased would be there a lot. And then Primeval would come down once in a while. Ex Mortis came up a couple times. A band, Vicious Circle from Jersey, played there. Another local band from Philly, Hazarax, played there a couple times. Anvil Bitches, successor band Dominance, was going over there to play. And then we started, because Alex and I would talk to all these people on the phone. I had Hellwitch. I got Hellwitch set up here. I had Fatal come out here. We got Nuclear Death set up out here. Well, we would do the groundwork, Alex and Ann would go to Dottie, the lady that run the show, and organize and put it together. So we would tell Ann what bands. She would go take it to Dottie, and Dottie would go, okay. So we kind of had there was a pretty good click to get a lot of shows back. And so that's what we did. We ran it early on like that. I mean, I didn't run it, but we were responsible for bringing a lot of underground in this area and exposing it to a lot of other people. And then it just, that was a good spot. And then there was another, that's just any demographic of an area in music history for somebody. Yeah, it's one of the old shows. Yeah, Nocturnal Suffocation.
I have several flyers, but since we're talking about shows, I just figured I'd share those. Yeah, man. I remember and almost every single one of those shows was videotaped. There's a lot of hangout videotape footage. Oh yeah. There's just a lot of that stuff going around. But like I said, it was we were fortunate enough that we had good relations with people and enough trust to make something underground happen. We wanted, and it did good. Yeah, I think it did. I guess it did good for Nuclear Death and Hellwitch and Fatal. And I mean, even though Fatal broke up, but we were bringing bands that a lot of these other people, that never got to hear that we already knew out here. And then when you're here in Philly, you can go to New York, you can go in Jersey, or you can go down to DC. You had, and King used to help people get shows down in there, from what I can remember. So we're close enough in our neck of the woods in the United States, you can have more than one show. So it paid at that time period that you can get, you can get more than one show out here. It benefited bands to come out. Fatal only did one off here, but
They stayed at, most of these bands stayed at my house. If they didn't stay with me, they stayed with Ann. But Nuclear Death, when they came out here during that tour, a couple shows, they played the show in Red Bank, New Jersey with Ripping Corpse. They were supposed to play it, and it didn't happen. That show didn't happen. Something wasn't set right with the, Lori can tell you better than I don't want to speak for it, but I was there.
Right.
And something didn't work out. Nuclear Death wound up not doing a show. She said, hey man, we're just going to come back to your house. I said, yeah, sure. And my mom and dad loved Lori and Phil. My mom loved them. My mom thought they were great. She loved them. Lori would come down and have coffee with my mom in the morning, sitting there playing with my cat and everything. I had Lori, Joel, Phil, their friend Craig, and me all in my bedroom, where my daughters now sleep in the bedroom that they stayed in and I stayed in. Hellwitch stayed in that room. Fatal stayed in that room. My daughters are now growing up in that same bedroom. Of course, it's painted and furnished differently.
Yeah.
But this is the same house I'm in from '89. We had a big enough house that we had the room to let people stay in here, and they already knew. So
I mean, that's the way it had to be then. It's not like
it made sense.
They couldn't afford to like stay in hotels or anything.
So they stayed here for a month, and we actually. Do you remember when Nuclear Death made a home movie? Like Phil and Lori made like their own Nuclear Death movie. I think they shot it in
it's Alive in Texas.
Yeah, they had those little clips in between.
Yeah,
like
live. Yeah,
we actually did that here in this house. I made footage with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it never had. I don't know if Lori has it still or if Phil has it.
That's on YouTube, right?
Like what? Lori and being here at the house?
Video, yeah, it's called Unalive in something or something. If that's the one,
it's one where she's supposed to be pregnant, smoking and drinking. Yeah, and she's talking in the mirror, rubbing her belly, and I come out as a deformed child. I have like a fake hand. I think I'm doing this. Wait a minute. I think I'm doing this, and I'm like, and I'm playing around doing that. Yeah,
I think that's on YouTube.
I was like her abnormal, abnatural, birth-grown, abominated child. And then there was another one. I was Joel was a priest. Yeah, and I was possessed, and I was in my basement, possessed. I was locked in my basement, and he came down with a crucifix, and we made homemade vomit out of like tuna fish, caro syrup, honey, and some other stuff. We put peas in there, smashed up, and we made like a vomit. And I was flicking it on a spoon in his face, like as a cutscene. He was putting it across. We were trying to do our own very cheap kitchen-esque version of The Exorcist. But we did all that stuff, and we filmed stuff like that here in the house. But it at the time period when they got back home, it never saw the light of day. At least I never saw it. I never saw it. I never even knew it was up on YouTube. But we did stuff. I took them to an abandoned insane asylum that was burnt down in a place called Byberry. There was an asylum in northeast Philly that was shut down, and there was a big fire. And the story that I heard was there was escaped people or people that supposedly died in the fire, but they never found them. And there was this little creeper story going around how that some of the people still lived in the underground tunnels that run through the whole length of the fields. And it was like, there's no lighting. It's abandoned. So we went there with Nuclear Death. We took them up there, and I think Lori filmed some of it in there. We were trying to film, but it was so pitch dark. And we went to the autopsy room, where they did they did the embalming, the crematorium. We went into the office where there was all these files. We were trying to look and see if we would read anything, but it's dark. You're sitting there with flashlights. Yeah, and we were just kicking around in there, So we took him to that. We hung out. We were really we were close for a little while,
Yeah. So that video is on YouTube. Somebody just posted that they watched it recently. So
I have to check it out. I haven't seen it in such a long time. I remember doing it, but that was filmed in my house. Some of that.
That's awesome. I have a few like legendary shows that I want to talk about that you guys played. Sure. First one being my buddy who unfortunately passed away, Brian Patterson. But this was basically pretty much the first, I guess if you count that Morbid Angel Massacre thing in '86, but this one was probably the first big death fest. You know,
it was to me. I mean, it was our first, so we were pretty fresh. Yeah, we were really fresh. That's October 19th. Yeah, that demo just got done in like July of that year. So yeah, we were fresh, man. And
yeah,
we let Incantation play half on our set. We had a time slot, but we only had a couple songs. And we let Incantation. We were like, yeah, come on up. And we let them. We shared our set time with Incantation so they can,
yeah.
So they can get notarized a little bit. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That's and that's John Arcucci. After he took place of Lemmy. No,
that's McEntee, right? Or no, he's playing McEntee's guitar. He's playing McEntee's guitar. That's right.
Yes. Because that was that's right. Yeah, it was a mess. That's the night Jim Rowe. We rode up in Jim Rowe's station wagon, and this station wagon that Jim had. This guy. Jim is like this. He's like the MacGyver of a post-apocalyptic world. I think. And he's just a very good mechanic. He's very
good guy. He's a good guy to know. Apparently,
Jimmy's very good. He's a wonderful soul. We were, and his station wagon was very old, and we drove up in his station wagon with all of our equipment, and it was freezing. And we're going up through the mountain areas, going out to Buffalo and everything, and. He had a flat tire. We were on kind of a mountainside. We were asleep on the side of a road. It had to be like 2 degrees outside. I mean, our balls were probably like this, We were like, and and he got out of his car and he's like, I'm going to the gas station to get a tire. He took off in the middle of the night to go get his flat fixed, and we're in his car. He's got the keys and there's no heat. We're just like. Okay, we're trying to sleep. It was uncomfortable. He showed up, I don't know, maybe an hour or two after the sun came up, and here he comes back up the road with a tire. We were like, dude, we thought you got killed. We thought you got kidnapped and killed or raped. We were like, you got a deer hunter thing going on happening,
Oh, yeah.
And he came back with a tire, put the tire on, we got to the show, and then we played, and it was wacky. That went on until about, I think, 3 a.m. Autopsy went on, I think it was 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there, but yeah, I've heard that story a lot about Autopsy playing really, really late. And a lot of bands have stories about trying to get up to Buffalo, like you just said. I think Deceased had some wild trip going up there, but it's amazing how many bands that Brian and Alan got together on that day. And you look at that lineup and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ,
Another fun thing about that fest, we were all very hungry, right? We're all very hungry.
Yeah. Well, Jim, let me guess. Jim killed a deer and he cooked it on the roof of the car or something.
He could have very easily have done that. He's very good at that stuff. He's very good. He has his own garden growing up at his house. He's got a phenomenal garden up in his house.
Yeah.
The guy makes his own salsa dip. He does it all. He does it all.
Fucking amazing.
We were very hungry that night, and there was a store around. Well, King Fally was there, and he had his good friend with him. And they took a trip to the grocery store, and they came back with a whole bunch of groceries.
Yeah. Wow.
And we were like, dude. They're laughing like, ha ha ha, look who we got, everybody. They fucking stole lunch meats. They stole the plastic forks, the plates, even the bags.
Yeah.
They came back with the food in the bags. They took it all. They didn't pay for anything.
Holy shit. King
they
Fally.
were renowned.
Actually, I'm trying to get King and Jim on the show, but they're kind of technologically challenged at the moment. So I'm trying to get them to be on the show. So Jim have to talk about his trek to get the tire or whatever.
Yeah, let him tell it, man. It was kind of funny. We thought something happened to him. Really did. We thought something happened to him.
5-finger discount king. That's what Mark said.
Yeah, he's renowned for that. The guy, all those things. We were hungry, and here she's. I don't want to give the other people away. I don't want to get them in trouble, but I know King probably
that
really
was
don't
30
care.
years ago. Come on.
Yeah, he really don't. He never cared before. If he cares now, then he's changed because he never used to care. But just they came back with food for everybody. So I was like, hey, thank you. We're eating sandwiches, everybody. So that's just what happened. Yeah, that's one of the stories.
So the first time I met you was at this show right here in Houston, Texas, on the Immolation tour when you guys did that tour.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that was at the Axiom, and I
92.
think, yeah, it was July 24th, 1992. I remember I remember this show. It's one of those shows that just kind of stuck with me.
Thanks. I'm glad you liked it that much. Thank
17,
you. Yeah,
I was 17 years old at the time, and I was
21.
And I remember it's weird because I remember me and my friends like kind of waiting for Immolation to go on. I think you guys had just gotten off the stage, and we're just sitting around, and there you come, started talking to us. I'm like, what the fuck, So even way back then, I knew. I was like, man, this fucking dude is cool as shit. And then five years later, in '97, whenever I saw you with Apsu, you did the same exact fucking thing, and when you gave me that tape, and you're like, I can't fucking believe you drove 3 hours to come fucking see this show or something like that. So you're like, here, you can have this tape or whatever. I'm like, oh, badass, dude. And
so guys like, dude, there's no shows. That's just the truth.
Yeah, but it was weird because it was basically the same fucking thing, like 5 years apart, So
I'm glad I did that. Well, then I guess it proves my point. I never really changed. Everything else around me changes. That's how I see it.
So, any memories about this tour? Maybe I don't know if I know it wasn't. It was tough touring back then, but like overall, thoughts about this show or this tour back then.
Well, I remember that's when I fell in love with Texas. During that tour, I loved it down there. I loved it. I loved it all over down there. Necrovore was already the home to Necrovore, which are heroes of mine still. I swear by that demo. That and Pentagram from Chile. Both of those demos and Mike Browning's Incubus. I mean, those demos are absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Go to Grandma. So that's when I really started to take into areas I knew I'd liked in the scene. Particularly that show. I'm trying to think Axiom. I remember liking the club. Great crowds. I thought all the crowds in Texas were really great. We were doing covers. I remember we did.
You did Celtic Frost.
We did that. Bastille Invasion.
Yeah.
Bastille Invasion Destruction. Yeah, we did those. It was just great. I mean, that's what I wanted Goreaphobia to be at that time. I was on the page like, okay, this is what I wanted in 1990. Here it is, 92. But the members have changed. I remember because there was no Alex, there was no Craig. Craig was already in Immolation. Alex wasn't. Alex had quit way before that. It was really just me and John and Kenny, and we had that, and it was those guys at that time period. Their mindset was different than mine. And that's when I learned during that tour too. But that was about halfway. By the time I got home, I realized that those guys, Kenny, John, Spencer, were not on the same page I was for the future for Goreaphobia. That's why I did Bloodstorm, because those guys were okay. Here's another. I'll say it at the time period to Immolation. Good friends, love them, but the road trip said a lot to me about people's personalities. And I found it, as much as I love Susie Quattro, I could not sit and play her records back to back or one record every day for a month and just listen to that. And it's odd to me. You get a sense of what people are really.
Yeah, no, I know
what's going on in their, what's going on in their heart. Not just. I'm talking everybody. It's everybody in that van. All the guys who were in Goreaphobia with me and Immolation. All I had Dark Thrones Ablaze in the Northern Sky, and on the other side I had Immortal EP. I had the Black on that, and I think I had Baharat Oath of Black Blood on this tape. And I remember playing it. I was playing the demos, and all of them, all the guys in that van except for Craig Smolowski, all said, I said to them, I said, this music is going to be the future.
Yeah.
I said in that van on that tour, I said, Dark Throne and more. I said, this is going to be the future. They freaked out and said, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I have taste up my ass with music. I don't know. I was ridiculed for liking early black metal. I was ridiculed for liking some of the still liking Possessed and Bathory and Voivod and Whiplash. Those guys thought it was, I have to say, they thought it was idiotic of me to still hold faith in that music.
Wow.
That's the way it was for a month. And all I heard in that van playing was Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, Pearl Jam 10, Nirvana, Nevermind. Yep,
oh, no.
That was it. That's what was playing back to back in that van for like 30 days. That's all.
That's the shit
once in a while,
I hated back then.
Once in a while, I got to hear Van Halen. Lucky enough to hear that. Once in a while, because I think Unleashed. What was that second album they did?
Shadows in the Deep.
Shadows in the Deep. Yeah, that. Thank you. Like those. Like that album would play once in a while, and Van Halen. Other than that, it was Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians all the time. Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and Metallica's Black album. And that is undisputed truth. That's what was played the whole time. I'm lucky I had headphones. Because I was like, I really am the black sheep of this tour. That's when I knew. I love the tour. I love the opportunity. The exposure. I loved playing. I didn't let any of that take away from what I love to do. But I knew that there was being around guys for that long, doing that kind of, you really see where their hearts are. You really see what's in their mind. And one of those guys said, who's not in Immolation anymore, he's not in Immolation, but he said, this was his exact words: play all your brutal stuff first, and then play what you really like after that. So I was like, what in the F is that supposed to mean? Play your brutal stuff first, and then put out what you really like. Yeah. In other words, get the contract, play the game, and then do what you want. It's like, isn't that what you're doing anyway? But wow. That's what was said.
Here's a little fun fact for you. I don't know if you knew. I didn't know this, but you had your brother Equitant Ray chimed in. He said he ran lights. He ran lights in San Antonio. Do you remember that?
That's when I met Ray, Russ, and Mike, and some of the other. I think the Vine Eve guys were there too at that show. Yeah. But we were. Yeah, it's when I finally got to meet Equitant. Really, I didn't really get to speak to Mike. I spoke to Ray, and Ray handed tapes to us. Yeah. Ray was there, and he's like, dude, badass cover, Destruction, man, badass. He's what. This is what I remember Ray saying to me. Ray, if you hear me, you can correct me on there, my friend, because you're the one that said it. You'll be able to remember better than me. But I remember one of the things Ray saying that they thought of me as a candidate for playing with Absu, because they remember my performance with Goreaphobia during that tour. And my look, I was into the leather and the spikes and the chains. Most bands really, they let go of the bullets and the leather and the spikes and the chains. A lot of those, if you look back 90, 91, 92, almost nobody was doing it.
Yeah, almost I remember you had all that on that tour, I remember. And
I was like, I'm going to do more. I knew, I'm like, as time goes on, I'm just going to do more and more, because my personal belief is that's one of the things that I thought was a key ingredient to make. If you have your performance, your playing ability, now you have the look to go with it. It makes a real big kinetic connection. It's powerful. If you have a look, a sound, and a feel, you have everything in that field. You had the power, man. Now you're like, you're really good collective thought with your band and the people that like your music. You're making a good image with your sound and atmosphere.
Right.
You're making a bigger connection.
I mean, I'm a big believer in aesthetics. Like in a show, it's you got to put on a show. You can't just go up there and look.
Was a big example.
Huh?
Nasty Ronnie was a big example for me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's huge. I mean, if I
Venom, all of it.
If damn, I lost my train of thought. I just saw Ray's comment, but he said it's true. He said, yeah, totally true. And they were big Goreaphobia fans. So, but yeah, I mean, when I see a band play, and if I see a band play, and let's say they're playing these really really brutal, good songs, catchy songs, and they're just standing there looking bored, and then they come back on stage and then put on a show for me, put on the spikes or do whatever they're doing, and then play the same songs, it's way better.
Yes.
Way
I
better.
think so. It's the thing to help attract me. So why not use that?
Exactly. I mean, and like you said, Nasty Ronnie, but I mean, maybe it's because, we grew up on seeing like these big bands put on a show.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I think like that, because, just even like Venom or just Wasp or anything, they all put on shows.
Even go back to the Who. I mean, they were TNT on the stage. He was smashing everything. They were wild.
Yeah, breaking guitars and shit.
It's all part of it. It's all a part of it. It really makes an impression. If that's what you're going to do, something art, you have to make. If you're going to be a good artist with your hands and create a painting, you have to make something that's going to impress. You're going to want to look at it. It's got to be impressive. If you're going to play something, you want to be able to impress or entice the person to want to hear it again. You have to do something. Exactly. The more you can add, I think it goes hand in hand. It adds more.
I completely agree with that statement. All right, so let's get to. I mean, there's so much I could cover, but
say it all. I'm here, man.
I want to hit some.
I love it.
Absu. So I have some specific Absu tour questions, but this tour, I know there's one story specifically, or a couple, I think, that I want to hear about this. That I heard you remember. You could probably remember well, but this tour, I mean, I could only imagine what that was like, and I've heard stories about it, but I want to hear. Yeah. I want to hear from you. The first one being, Dave Slave,
and Rock.
You already know where I'm getting at. You already know what I'm getting at, right?
I was sitting right across from it. Yep.
Okay, so give us so Dave Slave from Sadistic Execution.
He was having a bad night that night.
Okay.
He was having a bad night. And what we had heard after the fact was Proscriptor found us out. He was let go out of a mental institution a couple of days before that tour started. That's what we heard. That's what I heard. So we were like, it makes sense that he did what he snapped. But he wasn't digging with what the crowd was doing. He wasn't. Because think of the demographic. It's 1995. Immortal, Emperor, Dark Throne, Beharit, Satyricon, just all that Burzum, Mayhem, all that stuff is so fresh in everybody's head. And that's all everybody wanted. And it was just, and everybody had this big, bold ass attitude. They're just the darkest, most evilest person. Nobody's allowed to get into the music. You got to stand there like a decomposing church statue like this.
Yes.
Stand there. You know, just what I'm saying. So you get the whole idea. Yeah. So that's what a lot of not all, but a lot of people had that. I guess that feel was in the air, and this is my take. Okay, I can remember when Pale Nazarene were having, I guess, arguments or interview wars with a lot of these other bands from Norway.
Yes, I remember. And
they were getting threats, and I think if I remember correctly, I think Mika talked about, and Jarno, actually, the guitarists were talking about they had death threats for them touring. Like if they went on tour, there's going to be people to kill them, or just the typical BS stuff. Everybody's a big tough guy behind a computer,
Right.
I guess they were getting threats, and they were expecting problems or just trouble. And Sadistic Execution, they're just a wild bunch of guys, Yes. And here we are, and Absu is already a cult-based topic band, so they fit in that black metal slot, although they're not 100% black metal, but they fit the content. They fit some of the criteria at the time of what a black metal band would be, right? Because the Proscriptor being very theatrical and the lyrical content, everything went very good with with what they were doing. And I am, as you know, I like to be aggressive and full on as much as I can.
Yeah.
And given the fact that they hired me for that tour, and I was already starting to do Bloodstorm at that time, I got on there. We fit at that time like the black metal glove of that period.
Right.
Because I had the chainmail now, and I had my shoulder. I had more, as you said. I was building my stage attire through the times.
Right.
Whether I was with Absu or not, that was going to happen no matter what. That's me. I was doing that when I started. It was just a natural progression. It just so happened when Absu came, this is what I had. And they were like, yeah, it sounds great. Use it. And they loved it. It's like, yeah, well, this is great. The energy. So I was like, you guys believe in me. You trust in me. I'm going to give everything I have, because if you have that much confidence in what I'm doing, I'm going to do full on. So anyway, okay. we fit kind of that glove, I guess, at the time period. Impaled Nazarenes are renowned. Here comes this section. So you got three bands that are in the same kind of energy field of aggressiveness in the music, extremities, which is a good tour. Makes a good tour. Makes an interesting, good setup. It's a good tour. But you can't control what the people are like. You can never control that. You have no idea who's coming through your door. Right. So anyway, I guess what happened as the tour was going on, what it seemed like to me is Sadistic Execution, maybe not all of them, but I think maybe Dave wasn't getting maybe the response that or feedback that he was looking for. He just seemed disappointed. And that night he just snapped. We were on the bus. He had already, I guess he grabbed somebody in the crowd. I'm only going by what was transferred back to me, what I heard.
Right.
Apparently somebody said he was running around getting mad at people. He was grabbing people. He's like, love everybody. And the people were like, no. They were being the whole hard ass, I'm a black metal, I'm a Huff McGruff guy or whatever. So he was trying to tell them, no, love everybody. He was grabbing these people, shaking them like, no, you love everybody. He was going, he's looking, it's as if he was looking for confrontation. It's what it seemed like to me. Yeah. Anyway, the night boiled down. Everybody gets on the bus. He's already pinging. I think this was in Hamburg, Germany, too, I think this was in Hamburg. I think it was after that night. Or it was the night after that. They got on the bus. He was pissed off. He was aggravated, and he was agitating the tour manager and the other people working on the bus, the drivers. He was already amped up. You could see in his eyes, he was like, he was already upset. And he just, Proscriptor went, here, man, he's like, here, man, you want to bite my finger. And Dave Slave grabbed Proscriptor's finger and went and chomped down on it real hard.
Holy
and
shit.
Proscriptor was like, Proscriptor said, he's like, I felt his teeth hit my bone. He had to get, I think Proscriptor got a shot the next day. If I remember right, he got a shot, or maybe it wasn't. He got something for his finger that because he broke skin.
Yeah.
And I don't think he got a shot. I think later on he was concerned about it, but he got medicine for his finger, but he was that pissed and he did that. He was getting more pissed, and then Rock just kind of boom. He was like a quarter stick of dynamite going off in a coal mine.
Yeah.
The crowd was yelling at him, and they started yelling, and then we all went, "Whoa, God!" What's happening here? And then, and Pale Nazarene, Mika got up going, guys, calm down. And Mika's funny because he sounds like Count Dracula. He's got that voice. He sounds really cool. So like, guys, calm down. And here comes the sound man, Spencer, coming on. And then all of a sudden, they just, boom, they lock heads. Dave's got him in the head. I mean, Rock has got Dave in the head. Like he's pounding on him, yelling at him. Dave is pounding. He's biting Rock's side. He's biting him on the side. Like,
fucking amazing.
And then there's Chris Hades on the other side. Chris Hades, this is it. I remember him going, guys, it's all right. Just calm down. They do this a lot. They'll be okay. Just let them, they'll get through. Rock will take care of it. He'll get through it. Just calm down. Let it alone. It'll pass. We were just like, well, dude, this is out. And then they rumbling around. It popped the table up out of the floor. Drinks with smokes went everywhere. We went, whoa. And then Meek is like, guys, stop it. If you need to hit somebody, hit me. He tried to get in there. Spencer, the sound man, got in between them. Everybody's just like, whoa, shit, man. We were there just like, well, this is going to fucking be a problem, We were like, oh. It's like, hey, man, the tour guys were going to leave the Sadistic Execution at the next rest stop that night. They were this close. From what I understand, they were like this close to getting kicked off that tour, being left at a truck stop, the next place they pulled up. But it didn't happen, I guess. It went to the next day. I guess they apologized, and Dave Slade comes back on crutches, all bruised up. He got like a well on his head. He's bruised up. Yeah. Rock's got a big knot on him from the bite. And he's like, guys, I'm really sorry for freaking out and everything. We was like, dude, that's fine. Just cool out, man. Just, you can't do that, man. Cool out. Don't do that again. You almost got kicked off the bus. I'm really sorry. You're really sorry. It's just, it's like, yeah, dude, you didn't do nothing to us.
That's fucking amazing.
Just, calm down. We were just like, just take it easy, man. What are you going to do? And that's that,
That's fucking amazing. It's even better hearing you say, because I've kind of heard the story a little bit, but that you just kind of fucking brought it to life, and that's fucking amazing. So there's another. Was this taken on that tour?
I don't see nothing. That's my friends in Italy. Actually, that girl all the way in the back with the King Diamond paint. Her name's Brigida. She was a friend of mine, a tape trader. Yeah. And I lost touch. It's a shame. I lost touch. And those are her friends that she's riding with to the show in Rome. And there was nuns on the bus, and they took pictures of them, and they were laughing. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. I got to see those pictures one day. Well, Brigida, being the friend that she is, when I got back from that tour, she wrote me and she goes, hey, here's pictures from that tour. And she sent me these pictures. Well, I had to post them. I was like,
amazing. Yeah, I'm glad
I got to put this up. They said they were getting behind. They were sitting next to the nun. There was another nun there, too.
Yeah.
They said there were two, but they got next to her, and she just kept looking out the window the whole time, trying to ignore them. And then they were doing that, man. Yeah, she's my friend. That's her and a bunch of her friends. I thought it was funny.
I like how the people in the background are just totally like ignoring him too.
Whatever. When's lunch? Whatever.
That's fucking amazing.
That. I love that about people. I love that. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's fucking great.
I get it. Because that's the kind of shit I do.
Yeah. All right. So another story I'd like for you to share is let me make sure I don't remember. Apparently in Mexico, you guys I can't remember what town it was or wherever it was, but you guys were chased. Do you remember anything about that?
Oh, jeez. Wait a minute.
Being treated like the Beatles, kind of.
There was people that
Russ got it like an earring ripped out of his ear or something. Or
somebody asked for one of his teeth.
Somebody did
he got asked for one of his teeth. Somebody asked Russ for one of his teeth. That's true. Somebody asked Proscriptor for one of his teeth. True. For some reason, that poor guy, the most oddest person comes up to him.
Yeah.
And we would joke about it, Shaftil, Mike, Ray, and myself. We would just like, dude, it's all about you, man. You seem to be the one that you have that in you to get that.
It was in San Luis, Mexico. According to
and the people were spitting up on the stage at the people trying to knock it. They were spitting. I mean, you saw them come up with the crowd. It was just like It was like a bat boomerang. Sailing. I'm there singing. I'm like, please don't hit me. It's just whoosh. Loogie after loogie passing. You get off the stage, they're on your leg, they're on your boot. It's just like, and I haven't showered in 5 days. And I was just like, well, I got a Mexican mouthwash happening on me right now, man. You know? But there you go. And there was somebody trying to steal my bootstrap. Up front. So I'm playing, and I had these spiked bootstraps on my boot. And I'm playing, and I'm singing, I'm going at it, and I feel like I'm like, what the fuck? I look down, there's a guy grabbing trying to take my boot buckle off my boot. I'm like, oh, I was going to stomp on his hand.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I wasn't singing. I looked down, I was like, what are you doing? You know, I got a finger for it. I got a middle finger for it. I was like, I want like that with my bass. You know, it's just like, ugh.
Wow.
It's like you're pulling me off the stage, asshead. You know, what do you want me to do? So, but they were great people. They were really great people.
Yeah.
At that time period, I loved Mexico. They were a wonderful group of people. I mean, you can't help the country. It was totally ravaged, the area, but yeah, there was a lot of people.
Total maniac down there.
There was, I think that was the show. On the roof, somebody was a boxer, and it looked like somebody had like homemade boxing equipment up there, like a punching bag, a speed bag,
holy
and
shit.
there was like a water fountain, jump rope. There was, it was just like the water. We turned the water on. It looked like it was just silver coming out. I'm like, people drinking and washing that? Oh no! So I didn't wash for 5 days down there. It was terrible. I left some murdering gas on the airplane coming back home.
I have another one that apparently there was one night or one day or night where you were really, really hungry or something. You know what I'm talking about?
It could have been a couple nights. I like to eat. So, can you be more specific? I'll tell you. I mean, I guess.
Well, no, I know, but I guess something about. I just jotted some notes down, and I guess I should have been more specific. But you were like very hungry, and you're like, I gotta fucking eat or something like that. Or it was in Mexico too, by the way.
Okay, so we were probably on the bus. We bought all our own food with us from the border. We bought about 5 to 10 gallons of bottled water. We ate canned food, and I think I was on the bus. I was sitting next to Shafty, Mike. I think that's who it was either Ray, Russ, or Mike I was sitting next to. Okay, so it could be anyone. I'm sitting there. I think it was Mike. I'm sitting there. I'm looking up at the window, and there's all these clouds, and all I kept thinking of is my mom's homemade mashed potatoes. And I'm like, I'm looking up, and I'm like, I would love to have some just garlic butter mashed potatoes, homemade gravy on it, because you're eating, cheese on your hand sandwich, cold canned goods and bottle. You're just like, oh my God, I need a real meal. Was it that? We were on the bus and I was hallucinating at the clouds. That's what I could think of.
I'm not sure.
I remember when the armed guards came on our bus looking for paraphernalia.
Oh shit.
And the guys there, we was just like, oh, here we go. Rich Americans, let's hold them for ransom. Not that we're rich, but we're Americans. So,
right.
So you're just thinking of that crap. You're just like, oh my God, what's going to happen now? But there we are, guns coming on, just looking around. And the one guy we were with, Ray, he said, just don't say anything. We'll do the talking. I'm like, please, because I don't know. I was like, I can't speak Spanish. So
okay, here we go. Ray chimed in. He says, he goes, you said you were going to eat your hand or something like that.
See, that's why Ray's Ray and not me. He was probably sitting next to me. I wouldn't put it past me to say that. I used to say so much shit in front of Ray, Russ, and Mike in every rehearsal room. I used to go there. I goofed. I don't know. I think I might have thrown them through a little bit of my kind of loop of a little bit kind of street chaos, I guess.
Right.
A little bit. Right. I guess my sense of humor is just.
Here's
you know.
Here's a picture I actually took. It was at that Arlington show. I was like looking through them. That's you and Ray.
Yeah.
At the billiards place.
Yes. Great club. That was a really packed show. It was really good. The Eddie Van Halen Frankenstein kit.
Yeah, exactly. He did the whole fire fucking spinning thing and everything.
Yeah, the flash paper.
Yeah. He did that night, and
he got really good at it. I remember Russ practicing that. Yeah. I said I wanted to breathe lightning, but I couldn't come up with that trick. I said I want to breathe lightning. The hell with the lightning. I want to breathe lightning.
Yep.
Now nobody's doing that shit, but that was me.
I'm like, I was like, I can do that. Do you still have that bass in that picture?
Yep, that's right. That's downstairs. That's in my basement. I have my equipment stored in the basement for that. So yeah, I still have it. Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody's loving your stories, brother. Roy's loving them.
Thanks, everybody.
It's great, man. That's the kind of shit I like to. You know,
that's the way. I'll tell you.
I don't want it to be like, not that boring question again or whatever. You know what I mean?
That's why I love listening to Susie Quattro and Chrissy Hines interviews. I love the way they talk.
Well, I learn a lot from that. Speaking of that, let's move on to your. I found a cool. I mean, obviously it was online, but that's a cool photo right there.
Yeah. Yeah, she's great, man. She's great. I mean, when I was a kid, you just thought she was Letta Tuscadero.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy Days. And when I saw her back then, I was like, that is a badass, cool rock and roll girl. When I was a kid, I was like, that's the kind of girl I'd like to have, man. Look at her. She's just really sexy in them jumpsuits, and she looks cool, beautiful blue eyes. Like, oh man, she's great, man. Look at her.
Totally awesome. Kick ass. Yeah, it goes back to whenever you said earlier about the type of females that attract you. That's that, right? That's who she is right there, right?
Because you know why too? Yes. She's street level. She's boogie rock and roll.
She kicks your ass.
Well, she's I think in those days, spending a lot of time. I guess how can I make this a good summary thing? I think the way I look at women in heavy metal and rock, especially then. I mean, after a long time, for me, the older you get, the more you kind of get burnt out with a lot of guys because their mindset is kind of the same.
Right.
You get used to the mindset of your company, and if you spend a lot of time with guys, when you're doing a lot of the same thing, it's like working a job. When you work with enough people in the same field doing the same thing, you might get complacent and maybe slack or get lazy, and you maybe start losing a bit of yourself because you're wrapped with them. So you kind of you might let go people. It's like it's cautionary for me. I look at it as I don't want to let go of a lot of things that I learned. And I'm thinking, I have to look at things. I think for me, like I always said about leaving Goreaphobia and doing Bloodstorm, I have to stop and refresh things because not only does it keep myself in check, but it lets me refresh myself just trying to be an artist. It's just in my own way. And I'm like, I have to think of things differently. I spent so much time around guys that, and a lot of them are really, they're not as dependable. And after a time, you get burnt out being around people that are not dependable. And if you spend your time mixed around in people, I think it reflects in your music because it becomes undependable because that's what you got around you.
Right.
My way to avoid that thing is I'm like, I need to refresh myself every once in a while and put my mind in a different field, thinking based on what I know and what I think as an experience from when I was a child to now. How do I look at it this now? How do I look and feel about things this way now? And how does it inside of me make me want to do this? Is there something that I see in that I can get out of it to make it more, just make my field broader, but keeping the core of what I am stable, but just expanding it, but keeping my thought refreshed, that I don't lose myself, but yet I can keep myself energized to keep going. I'm like, well, I need to think and I need perspectives that are different. Well, a woman's way of thinking is differently than a man's. I believe. I think that's all around. Women are more, just we're wired differently in more parts. And I think that in that field, I'm a musician. This is what I want to do since I was a boy. I'm doing it. I've done a lot of it. I was like, I've done enough for myself in certain areas where it's like, I need another way of thinking. What have I maybe missed in the past that I could see better now and utilize for myself and what I do now? I looked at women in rock and roll, and she's one of the best examples. So I'm like, well, let me think of my earliest. She was one of my earliest. So was Joan Jett, because remember, we're talking the 70s. She was just Leather Tuscadero on Happy Days. Yeah. I never knew she had a career before that. I was 7, 8 years old when I saw her. Joan Jett didn't, for me, I didn't know what Joan Jett was until 1980. I didn't know who she was till 1980. I'll show you the issue. As a matter of fact, I'll show you.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. His stories are fucking amazing.
This is when I first saw her. Was this.
Wow.
And here's the follow-up issues. So when you look at something like this and you're like, okay, what's the date on this? As a matter of fact, okay, this is June 1982. So I was 11 years old. Okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, so you see that in the newsstand. I'm like, she looks like Leather Tuscadero from Happy Days. That's just the first thought. I'm like, wow.
Of course.
Then you hear it on the radio for a little bit, because now she got popular doing her own record. Didn't know about the Runaways yet. They were already gone. It was her. It was Joan.
Yeah.
So you hear that, like, wow, she's awesome. She looks really cool. She's wearing leather. She looks hot. She's sneakers. A hard attitude. It's like, it's rock. She's a rock chick. She's a rock woman. She's a rock. It's like a neighborhood street level rock woman. And because I didn't know Suzi Quatro's, passed at that age, I'm like, that's really cool. So I thought that was cool. And then later on in life, I look back now and I say, okay, when I was starting to think in that mindset, I have to think, what were women like? What did they have to do to survive when they started in rock? What did they have to do? What was their train of thought? How were they treated by the industry in America, opposed to Europe or wherever else, compared to the men at the time, what they were doing? What was it really like? And you wonder, it's like, it's like food for thought. And I'm like, okay, I want a perspective. So I delved into Suzi Quatro years ago, and I found her to be she's the one that kicked the door down for women more so. Now, I know there was women before her, but she was the one that broke the door open for women to be in the rock music. She did it. When she went out on her own, I mean, she's been playing since she was 14 in her father's band. No, she was a kid in her father's jazz band. Then started playing rock with her sisters, doing the Pleasure Seekers under her sister Patty. So she did all this stuff, right? And and then then they do the Pleasure Seekers. Then she gets offered her own solo contract. And she said in her book, this is the thing that it really turned me on to her thinking. In the one chapter in her book, Unzipped, she said, I was offered the same contract in New York to be booked as kind of the new Janis Joplin, or if I go to England under Mickey Most, I become the first Suzi Quatro. So do I want to stay in America and be under somebody else's image of somebody that's already there? Do I want to be another Janis Joplin, or do I want to go and be Suzi Quatro and find myself? Yeah. She said, yeah, I could have stayed in America. I probably would have made money. I would have had some success, but I wouldn't have been the person I wanted to be. So she said goodbye to her family, left everything. At the age of 21, she went over to England just with her guitar, her musical, talent, her abilities, and her clothes, and was living in a flat that the record label that her manager paid for. And she learned to make music on her own. And I'm like, that to me said, when I was a boy and I was listening to Kiss and AC/DC and all that, and Led Zeppelin and The Who, it was like, when I sat there and drew, it made me feel like when I was alone, it was the undisputed friend that would never judge you. It would never say, that you were bad. It would never had a bad feeling of you. It would never blame you for a mistake. It was just there. It was music was a constant thing with artwork that was always there, never to criticize you, but you had all the freedom to create and you had the ability to do it. And I saw her as the same way in that, and it really made me love her as a person, just not only as a respected musician, because she's a brilliant bass player. She plays better than dudes. I mean, there's a clip of her playing in '79 when she does her bass solo, and it's all fingers. And she's doing it. And I'm like, well, there she is, man, doing it. And that's the 70s. And she was big everywhere else but America. And it made me look at America the same way I looked at America, the way AC/DC was treated, the way they treated Joan Jett, the way they treated what other bands that came afar that were treated like crap. There was quite a few of them. But really, because I'm such a huge AC/DC fan, just how badly they really weren't backed in America, shed light. You see how this treats, how they treated rock music after the 50s with that bebop stuff, which is all fine and good, but they wanted cookie cutter corporate shit that was owned and run by these people, like they do today. So your tight white ass pussy song can get Emmys and awards, and you can have two naked women on a bed, fat as a house, completely naked, talking about pornography. But you got a band like Led Zeppelin, like Achilles' Last Stand.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's brilliant stuff. Nothing. I mean, that's just one example, and we can sit here all night and tell you there's tons.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, people.
The mindset is bad.
The majority of people don't want to waste their energy on something that's they want easily digestible shit. You know what I mean? Something that's like fucking, you don't have to put too much thought into it, and it's like
that's it.
And
5 to 10 minute song on the radio, and if you can't last the listener past 10 minutes, you're not successful. I remember hearing that on some of these interviews with artists and stuff. They say the average listener listens to a radio about 5 minutes, maybe 10. Yeah. If you can't hook them in that time period, you're done. So they run. I think they still run on that. But look at the way it's so bad in this country. It's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. And all that art form is lost. And even more so, the women that have credibility are lost. Still to this day, they're not respected as they should. And I'm not trying to advocate men against women. What I'm saying is it's the thought process of artists like Susie Quattro or Chrissy Hine from the Pretenders or Joan Jett or Wendy O. Williams or Kate from Acid or Girl School, for example. They were brilliant. I mean, they were the female Motorhead. They were the mirror of Motorhead, but with boobs. But they were brilliant still to this day, and they just don't get the deserving credibility and respects that they probably should. They're still out there playing, and it's to me, I look at that as no matter what goes on, the fact that they keep doing what they do. Susie Quattro, one of my heroes, she's going to be 71 on Friday. She's going to be 71.
Damn.
And she still does what she loves to do. And the woman's got over 50 professional years doing what she loves to do and didn't change a damn thing about what she did.
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, and that's a hit and a half for your ass to say it can work if you really care about what you do. That lady cared about what she did from the day she started. And I think there's a lot of the old rock musicians, they love it and they care about what they do. They wind up dying doing it. Right. I think things really changed a lot the day when Lemmy passed away. I felt a change inside of me as a person because Motorhead was in my life at the age of 12. So, and all that time, and he's gone. I didn't get to. I mean, Bon Scott went within 1 year after I got into them. He was already passed, so I didn't have no time frame with him. But his music lives on. I mean, but as a physical being, to me, it was Lemmy was the first one of my real heroes, and then Dio was another one. They go, but Lemmy was like, that's the real. There's never been a bad Motorhead record, in my opinion. I listened to every one of those records, and they gotten better as time went on. To me, Motorhead is the most consistent band with the most studio albums out of everybody out there. I think they do better than Priest and Maiden. They beat them. Because if you can look at the discography of Motorhead compared to those bands, they put more studio albums out over their years, and their albums have been more successful with the least amount of member changes.
Yeah,
and it's only been due to death, mostly. So it's just I look at that. I weigh things that way. I keep it in me, and I try to learn from the people that like you and I grew up listening to.
Right.
I think we need to learn from that, and somehow or another, if I wasn't playing music, I would want to do a radio show. I'm still a fan of music, and I consider doing a real radio show. I'm considering trying to get a real legitimate DJ job one day and play music that I love to keep that music going. It's missing so much, and I love everything from ABBA all the way up to Neckervor. Awesome. There's a lot of good stuff in all of it. Not to say that I would play it because it's not my energy level. My energy level is Bloodstorm. It's a cult heavy metal music. That's the thing. It's what Venom's impression of me when I was a kid. That is still the thing that I want to do when I project it. When I did Den of Sin, it was my take having working with women that were in the music scene that I'm like, I need to work with somebody other than a guy because I love that perspective. And I thought it'd be good just to write the music and let Lily take the horns and let her lead it. I wanted her to be the leader, and I was just writing the lyrics and the music, and I was like, okay, I wanted you to front it. And there was another girl that was there that was playing just for a small Lydia as a second guitarist just for a little bit. I said, I would really like you to eventually take this over. I'd rather be the Malcolm Young of this band. I want me and you to be the back end, and I want you to kind of be the face of it, like have a really good thing going. I don't know. It's just, it's something I wanted to try. Yeah.
If anybody hasn't checked out Den of Sin, go check it out, man. Those, like I said earlier, those songs are on YouTube. It's really cool rocking songs. They're like 3 minute, 3.5 minute long songs. It's just fucking, just from beginning to end, it's just, rocking, just sleazy kind of,
trying,
rocking
my
stuff.
Who ACDC, my Who ACDC Runaways, Susie Quattro,
sure. With you said Lily, right? You said her name is Lily.
Lily LeBeau.
Yeah, she does the vocals on there, and it's cool stuff, man. I really enjoyed it. I was like, I know I heard about it and I listened to it, but I like I said, I was doing a little bit of.
You froze on me. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm here.
Uh-oh.
I'm here. You're not. You're good. I'm not.
Sign off. Good. Sign back on again.
I'm here. I'm here. We're good. Oh, we're good. Yeah. Let me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So I think everybody can hear us, but I can hear you. I can hear you. So we're gonna call it here in a minute. It's probably the longest running show, and it's been fucking great. Chris's stories have been awesome. I'm not sure what's going on his end or whatever, but let me.
Do that again?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Do that.
Check your. Okay, there you go. So anyway, I'm going to. We're gonna wind it down here shortly when he comes back. It's been fucking awesome. So it's probably the longest show yet, but it has been fucking. His stories have been fucking great. I've enjoyed the hell out of him. Hopefully you guys. There he is. He is back. How about now? Okay.
I think I know what to do now when that happens to us.
Yeah, I was just telling everybody that's around. We're gonna start winding it down here.
Okay.
It's been fucking great. Your stories and hearing about, it's been great. It's been everybody in the chat's been really enjoying the stories. So
thanks everybody.
We can maybe down the road when you we can do some a part 2 or something.
I would love to. I'm a talker, man.
There's plenty more. There's plenty of stuff that we could have covered, but but we can get to another time. So as far as Bloodstorm, just to recap, the first album is being reissued, and you can get it directly from Chris. If you want to be able to get a hold of him, and you can find him on Facebook. Is Chris G. His address, like it says on his signature there. If you can't find him, then just if you're friends with me on there, just message me and I'll get you to him. But CDs, they were Den of Sin. Yeah, I'll put a link for Den of Sin whenever somebody's asking about a link. I'll put a link in the description.
I have a YouTube channel too. You can see everything on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, it's on the ticker there.
I see it. Thank you.
YouTube channel, Bloodstorm Official Web Cult. It's got
I have a really good Suzi Quattro interview on there too.
Actually, yeah, there you go. Actually, that's where you can check out all the Den of Sin songs. He's the one that uploaded them. So check him out. Check out the YouTube channel, Bloodstorm Official Web Cult, and it will take you right to his channel. But again, the Bloodstorm stuff is being reissued. The first album. Check out the new song, the one I played at the beginning of the show. And there's other songs that he did with Jim Rowe. If you don't know who Jim Rowe is, then you're probably lost. You probably came upon this interview by accident because everybody knows who Jim Rowe is in the underground scene, right? So
yeah. He's a good guy.
If you don't, he was, an Incantation, Disciples of Mockery. He was Goreaphobia, all kinds of shit. So and now he does the Primitive, which is cool shit that he does alone.
Yep, Jim, Ronnie, and Craig made that Incantation sound.
Yeah, he was on Onward to Golgotha, right? And also he's a drummer on Den of Sin, right?
Yeah, Jim. That we record everything at his house. He has a studio in his house. It's called Neanderthal Studio. That's what he calls it.
Yeah,
so I record up there. Really good setup.
Yeah, definitely check out his YouTube channel. You can see the name scrolling there on the bottom of my little ticker. I try to add production value to the show.
Yeah, we're still working on new music too. By the way, there's
Bloodstorm new stuff. Usually, whenever you said earlier, new song.
Yes,
Chris will upload them onto the channel and shit like that. So
yeah, that's what I do.
But get that reissue. It was reissued the way it was intended to be originally released. With it does have that track that was missing on the first version of it. So there's that. All right. So I got people asking questions.
Sure.
My buddy Kerry wants to know how did you like the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame?
Loved it. And this is the honest truth. I thought it was I grew up with Marvel Comics, and the Avengers were my team. It's quite simply because they had three of my favorite heroes: Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. They had those three guys, and then Scarlet Witch and Vision. Those two characters, I love their storyline, as well as Daredevil, Elektra. Unfortunately, they never made it. But yeah, those two, I kind of feel closest was with Captain America. The fact that he was able to grab Thor's hammer, because we all knew the man was worthy. The history of in the comics as a kid. I mean, he taught most of those characters how to fight in those storylines, like in the comic books. He brought in people that were questionable, like Hawkeye, who had a criminal record. He took in, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and they were part of the mutant the Brotherhood of Mutants because of Magneto and all that. So it's like the guy was willing to give people a second chance. I guess it's the character traits that I always liked with him as a kid, and I think it held up true in the movies. And when he had the chance to go back in time, and when he saw Peggy Carter again, when him and Tony went back in time to get the pin particles, and they were in there and they were running around the lab down there, and he went and ducked in. It wound up being Peggy's office, and he saw his picture and he saw her there, and you could see the look on his face, like he just wanted to stay there with her. I did. I got upset and welled up at the end for him. I was happy for the character. I was happy for the guy because he always loved her, Peggy Carter. Even in the comics, he always loved Peggy Carter. So it's a great ending. I felt bad for, it was just, I loved it. I love those movies. Scarlet Witch has always become a favorite.
Roy wants to know if you can upload any pre-Goreaphobia infamy demo.
Damn, Roy. I know they exist, but I got one tape. See, I got a box of tapes still in my basement. I got like Aftermath demos down there, and I got Destruction soundboard tapes in my basement. I got all this stuff. Oh, I showed Destruction my bootleg collection, by the way. Me and my brother were drivers for their tour in 2001.
Oh, really?
We were when they, or 2000 was it? 2001 when they did the All Hell Breaks Loose tour when they they made a comeback. Yeah, I drove Destruction in their van, and my brother drove the equipment truck for the first leg of their tour. And I showed Smear and Mike. I was like, "Look, I got a bootleg of your, shows from West Germany." And they were looking at it, and they were like, "Oh, this is really cool." And they were talking about how they remembered the shows. Like, I didn't think they would get mad. They seemed pretty cool about it, and I was like, "See something?" So I showed them, and they were telling me about it. They were telling me little stories about it. So I was like, "Were they going to get mad at me for a bootleg tape collection?" No, they actually enjoyed it. So, but Infamy tapes, I don't know, man. And it's funny he says infamy because we did one outside gig in our old playground, Scaling Playground in the old neighborhood, and there's a couple pictures of me just playing the bass, Kevin singing, Alex is playing guitar. Henny, the other guitarist, he never recorded on it. He's one of them guys that showed up with the guitar and stood there to get pictures with the young girls. He really didn't do anything. I don't mean to pick on the guy, but the truth of it is he never really did anything. But
it is what it is.
Yeah, that's just what it was. He wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't really that involved. There might have been a rehearsal tape, and if it is, my friend Mr. Fox, I don't know where it is sitting, but it might exist. I'm sorry, you're really digging into me, Roy. Wow.
Roy,
I'll come up with more. What else?
Roy with the tough questions over here.
But he knows the history. That's the thing.
Of course, Roy's been there. Yeah. Yep. So anyway,
all right. Well,
hey man, I appreciate everybody hanging out with us for we've been at it for a while. Thank you again. It was awesome. I really enjoyed hearing the stories and just sitting back and listening to you. Talk about stuff. So it was a lot of fun for me. Everybody in the chat that stuck around, just about everybody stuck around. Thanks for being part of the show.
Thank you so much for giving me a chance to listen.
Yeah, hell yeah. So I guess with that, let's jam out All Badass one last time. Oops, it's not playing now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Francisco. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
So much. I'll be happy to come back. Gab, if anybody has questions, come up with them next time because obviously, look, it's almost 3 hours and I'm still doing this.
Well, I mean, the first 25 minutes was some other stuff, but
that's true.
But still, it's everybody stuck around, so that's a testament to your storytelling.
I'm grateful. Thank you, and come up if you have anything else to add. I mean, I'll do the best I can.
Yep. Yeah. Appreciate it, everybody. Getting the hell yeah. Great show. All that. So, yep. My buddy Kerry wants to talk about. Oh, and before I go, next time you come to Houston, we're gonna go eat at a fucking Whataburger. A Whataburger. I know
I like Whataburger. Yeah, I was living off of that place down there. I loved it. I remember because when I was with Absu, I was living in the rehearsal studio when I was doing her albums, and there was a Whataburger across the way, and I was a janitor there. I got to do because Mike Kelly ran the rooms down there. He was the second in charge for the guy Vince that owned the building. Mike had to. You always knew when Mike Kelly was in the building. You heard them keys going, man. Yeah, you heard them keys. Like, oh, here's Kelly now, And it's like, man, Vince got anything to do? I would mop the floor, plunge the toilet. I didn't care what. I was fix the lights, take the trash, anything. And I just made money because I was like, I've been working since it's like, I don't want you guys to have to pay for it. I was like, I don't mind doing a little work. Give me some cash, something to do while you guys, waiting, I'm rehearsing. I'm like, give me something to do. I can give myself a little cash. I wanted to take the burden off of them. And I was like, oh, I don't mind. I'll do something. Give me some work. Shit, I'm not doing anything else. I learned their albums. I learned the songs. I'm like, I'll work, man. It's shit. Now I use pocket money. Buy myself my own food. And Whataburger, man. Boop, right over there. Lunchtime, I was like, give me them fries and that chicken sandwich. I was
there you go. The big orange W shining in the night.
And I told all my friends back here when I got back, Francisco, I was like, we go down there and we start playing. I was like, dude, I said, you guys just got to try Whataburger.
Yeah.
I was like, we're not going to probably get to go to Brahms because I used to go to Brahms all the time with Mike Kelly too.
Yeah.
At like 2 a.m. We used to go there and have burger, fries, and whatever else, man. People go there. We listen to Motorhead and go to Brahms. And, but Whataburger, I was like, guys, you got to try it. It's a really good franchise because we don't have it up here, obviously. We have cheesesteaks, though. We have cheese. I had to teach everybody down there. You don't make cheese. You don't do it with no stupid butter sauce. Doesn't exist in a real Philly cheesesteak. So, and pizza fries. You got to learn how to make pizza fries. It's simple and it's great.
There you go. All right. Once again, thank you very much. Thanks to all the tyrants.
Yeah. remember, Bloodstorm plays 100% occult heavy metal necromancy. I don't do nothing else. I love Susie Quattro, but I don't try to replicate her.
That's right.
She's sitting here.
Cool. All right, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Francisco.
I'll be in touch. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
I loved it. Have me back whenever you want. I love it. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
Visit the Bloodstorm site.
Yes. All right. Thanks everybody for hanging out. It was fucking awesome. Whataburger, man. Whataburger's a Texas. I think they've actually moved out kind of east a little bit, like Alabama, maybe as far as Alabama. I don't fucking know. But anyhow, it's as good as fast food burger's gonna get, no doubt. So Chris was fucking awesome, man. Pretty sure I'll have him on again. I'll have to do some more research and get some more stories because that shit was awesome. So again, everybody, thanks for sticking around, man. We 2 hours and 45 minutes of this shit. So again, tell everybody about the show, the channel. If you haven't checked out, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do that now. If you like what you see. Again, also about the Hell's Heroes show. If you want to check that out, go to the where's it at? Go to whiteoakmusichall.com. You can see that flyer. Check them out on Instagram at Hell's Heroes. Triple meat with cheese. God damn. Awesome show. I had a fucking blast. I'm not sure. Haven't really confirmed anybody for the weekend. But we're going to keep this fucking show going for sure. Also going to keep doing more of the non-interview shows, kind of panel shows or whatever. So do shit like that. Those are kind of fun to do. It's less preparation on my part too. So, but yeah, Whataburger. I'll mail you some fucking Whataburger. Carry a triple meat with cheese. I don't know if it'll be that good when it shows up in Vegas, but I could mail you one with the LP. Shit. Hell, I'm gonna have to have Whataburger tomorrow. Now that I'm fucking thinking about it. God damn it. So, anyhow, awesome. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm getting the hell out of here. Go watch the Astros replay game.